Hey, tu fais quoi? Okay, so we are live on Twitch. We are about to be live on YouTube. My streaming schedule has been so chaotic lately. It is what it is. But I digress. It's time. It is time. We have a Diddy update, and I definitely want to know what this update is about. What is happening with the diddler? And as usual, I'm going to do that as I do my makeup. I'm going to take the word of Stephanie Sue, who is somehow, I think she was invited as like a official member of the press. Good for her. That is crazy, but good for her. And so she's going to give us update from someone who is at the trial, seeing everything unfold in real time. I don't know if I'm going to watch the whole video or I'm going to do that in two parts, but let's get this started and see how it goes. And hopefully my sound is okay. I've been having so much issues with OBS. Ever since I switched from XSplit to OBS, I've been having so much issues with sound. So, yeah. Hopefully, it's going to be fine. And if not, well, fuck me. Oh,
without the peaked ceilings. The ceilings are tall.
let me just restart that.
Without the peaked ceilings. The ceilings are tall. They're made out of wood, and everything about it feels.
Why does it? Okay, thank you.
Bada bing, bada
I was
bing.
like, what?
Tuesday, May 6th. I walk into this room in New York City. I'm already nervous. My plane was delayed. I was supposed to be here yesterday. The room itself is so daunting. It's huge. It feels like it could fit 100 people, 200 people. I have no spatial awareness. It feels like a cathedral church without the peaked ceilings. The ceilings are tall. They're made out of wood, and everything about it feels like you cannot talk above a whisper. So right when you walk in through the double doors, you've already walked through this like carpeted hallway where you can hang your coat. Double doors open up. There's 2 retired law enforcement officers next to you. They're wearing bulletproof vests.
They're retired?
Yes.
How
And
do you
now
know they're
this is their
retired?
job. So all of them are retired law enforcement. And the first thing you notice are church pews. Just rows and rows of church pews. You got the left side and the right side. And then above that, and I'm just trying to paint the picture, there are 10 massive chandeliers. Huge lights. But chandeliers makes it sound very fancy, and there's crystals hanging off of it. They look like the ceiling boot lights everybody hates. But they're huge. I don't even think I could hold it with my arms all the way stretched out. And there's 10 of them. So to give you scale of this room, it's grand. Interestingly enough, magnifying these ceiling boot lights tenfold actually does make them look prettier. So there's 10 of them lined up in rows of 2 right above the church pew. So 5 on the right side, 5 on the left side. And then you have this like wooden little barricade, like a little wooden fence. I mean, you could easily jump over it. There's a little door. But beyond that, there's more rows and rows of seating. But they have computers and they have better chairs with cushions. And then at the very front of the room, you have this podium and this rope painting. It's a massive artwork that takes up the whole wall, and it's made out of rope that's been tied together, and it's different colors, and it's probably 2 of me standing tall. The church pews are just rock solid wood. You know it's good wood, but every time you inch your butt, you feel like the whole pew is vibrating. You can feel other people moving, and by hour 4, everybody's inching their butts because it's so sore from the solid wood pew. And it's awkward because almost everyone just sits on one side. Now, this is going to probably change on Monday, but during jury selection, we're all seated pretty much on the right side.
So the left is empty?
The left side has a few people, but barely any. So we're all gathered on the right side, and we're not even condensed to like, oh, single file, let's fill out the first few rows. We're all scattered around the right side. So at the very front row, you have the court sketch artists, and they're going to be looking at Diddy diagonally. So he's sitting right in front of the left side row of the pews. And so we get like a diagonal from behind view of Diddy.
I see.
So the court sketch artist.
1 second. Let me see if the sound is okay. Feels okay to me. Cool. All right. So that's cool. I'm ready, but I gotta do something first, real quick. So you're annoying right now. So I'm gonna let you have fun. I don't want to be disturbed. Okay. Holy shit. Oh my god. Okay. I love cleaning up cat vomit. Let's go.
Are at the front. There's about 2 to 3, and they have, I didn't know it was this big because when I look online, it looks like a little thumbnail. I thought they bring in a little notepad. It's
Oh shit.
like 2
I
feet.
forgot to put the
It's
powder
not
first.
canvas. It's like a paper.
Oh.
And they have chalk, they have pastels, they have the surgeon binoculars that they put on their head to stare into
To zoom
Diddy's
in?
soul. Yeah, I guess.
What?
They're trying to get all the details of every defense attorney, the judge, the prosecutors of Diddy. And then behind them, you have a few empty rows and then like a few scattered people. These appear to be people associated with Diddy's legal team or supporters of Diddy, aka his friend was there. So his family aren't there yet. They're going to show up for opening statements, but they're not here for jury selection. One friend is there. He was sitting 2 rows in front of us. And then you have the in-house.
Was he the one
yes.
wearing the free Diddy shirt?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
please.
was pleasant. He didn't really talk to anybody, but yeah,
Mhm.
he was sitting there. And then behind him, you have the court
Free
reporters.
Diddy.
And then behind that row, you've got us, members of the press. That's where I was sitting. And when you get there, you sit down. It feels intentionally uncomfortable. And you're just sitting on this rock solid pew. And the one saving grace of this entire place is there's massive windows that are covered in sheer curtains, so you can't really see out. But if you do take a peek, it's the most beautiful view of New York City and the Hudson River. But nobody's looking outside. We're staring at this
Probably.
one door near the front of the courtroom, because that is where Sean Diddy Combs is going to walk out of. The man on trial for racketeering, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. It's interesting because when he walks in, his presence is kind of like a shrug. My researchers and I were staying up all night. We're trying to find analogies because there's no cameras allowed. And I want you guys to get not even just like the visual, because clearly you guys know what Diddy looks like, but the feeling that I personally got, it's like a shrug. When someone walks into a party, there's a few ways that people react. I feel like the first way is, oh my God, who is that? Who is that person? And people start asking, and you're like, oh, that's that person. And then you have times where people walk in, you look at your friends, and you just go, you just shrug, like, I don't know who that person is. Do you know who that person is? I don't know why they just walked in here.
What?
It's just very unassuming. There's no strong presence. He just walks in.
So it wasn't as intense as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, there was nothing.
Less presence.
Way less presence, because you hear all these reports about how he does have this very magnifying, electrifying star power.
Well, not anymore.
But there is
She's
a lot
probably
of
gone
tension.
because of Joe.
And it's interesting because this room is massive, but all of the tension, all of the energy is just lopsided to the front of the courtroom, because that is where the judge, the prosecutors, the defendant, Sean Diddy Combs, the defense team, they're all there. And at some point during the many hours that you sit there, it kind of starts feeling like a one-way window or a one-way mirror. I overheard some people say it feels kind of like we're watching a movie or we're watching fish in an aquarium. There's no interaction between the two sides of the room. There's no conversation, obviously. There's nothing. It just feels like we're watching something that maybe we're not even supposed to be watching. Like we're silent flies on the walls, and we have to be silent, and we can't comment, and no one's talking, and we don't exist to them.
That's interesting.
It's it feels like an invisible force field in the middle of the room. Just boom, there's the force field.
Yeah, because like when you're even in public, you don't want to stare at people.
No, but all of us are just staring down.
I wonder if that's why it feels so intriguing, because you're not supposed to staring at someone.
Yeah.
Like analyzing
Yeah,
everything
well,
they're doing
And
in
you know
person.
what's crazy?
I would
catch
stare.
myself staring so intently because I'm jotting down notes and I'm watching because I want to make sure that I get all my notes accurately, right? So I'm staring up like this. And then I made eye contact with someone who works at the court, and it is very weird. I did feel like I'm breaking social norms.
Yeah.
And it feels very uncomfortable. It feels like a force field. And then all of a sudden, it breaks. Because Diddy will turn around or tilt his head, and he will stare back. And this is a man, and my researchers warned me because their flight did not get delayed. So they came on Monday, and they said, it's not like he's looking at one person specifically. I mean, I'm sure he's looking at his friend. I'm sure he's looking at the people that he works with. But it's not like he's looking at the members of the press. Like, he doesn't really care about the members of the press like that. He's not like, hey, that one person, I'm going to stare at you. But he will look at all of the members of the press. Sometimes,
like one by one.
Yes, it feels like one by one. Now, it's not like he can spend a lot of time looking. It feels like he's doing maybe a few faces, and then he'll wait, turn around, do another few faces. I would say I could count many a times I felt I made eye contact with Diddy, and I'm not saying this as like he was specifically looking at me, right? But it's just he's trying to see who's in the courtroom. And the way he makes eye contact, I think that was more jolting. His presence was a shrug, but his eye contact is very intense. He reminds me of someone who just does not break eye contact. It feels like he's staring into your soul.
She
There
didn't
was
see the
one
meme.
point where I thought I was going crazy, and I looked at my researcher who's sitting behind me, and she was like, she's mouthing, what? There was once where he's looking in maybe me, the person next to me, or the person to my right, and he just wouldn't look away, to the point where I felt like all of us started looking away first.
Wow.
You know, we were talking to other people, and there were a lot of people that felt similarly. It feels very challenging when he looks at people. It doesn't feel like zoning out. It doesn't feel like, I wonder why these people are here. It feels challenging. That's the best word.
Is he doing this on purpose here, or is this how he always?
I don't know him. I personally feel like this is how he is. I don't think that he's like cares about the members of the press that much.
This is just how he always looks at someone.
Yes.
He holds his eye contact and he doesn't break it.
No. It feels like he sizes up everyone. And it's not even like we're important or anything to him, but it just is very interesting. So this is week 1 of jury selection for the Diddy trial.
Woo! All right. The fact that she was invited as part of the member of the press is mind blowing to me, but I'm also like so kind of proud in a way for her. Like, good for you, girl. He'll get that
We would like to
credibility.
thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Joyful Heart Foundation. They're working to transform society's response to SA, DV, and CA. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team and allow our team to travel to New York City to attend the trial. We'd also like to thank our listeners for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at RottenMangoPodcast.com. A few disclaimers before we get started. Regarding content warnings, there are themes of SA and DV. Secondly, certain portions and quotes have been shortened and condensed and or combined for brevity. Now, third, this is a very thick disclaimer, but Sean Combs is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Well,
the burden of proof is the responsibility of the prosecution. Everything reported on in this episode and throughout the trial is public information. Any descriptions or observations that I will tell you, like this is what I saw, regarding the defendant are personally noted by myself or my two researchers who were present in the courtroom. In person, seeing these things happen in real time with our own eyes, that's what we're telling you. But just because we feel something and see something does not mean that our experience and statements are valid reflections of the truth. Our interpretations of random things that we saw in the courtroom are our own opinions and are shared for the purpose of reporting on current events because they don't allow cameras. None of this should be used as a definitive source for how someone feels about Diddy, and especially not for deciding if you think he's innocent or guilty, especially as the trial is ongoing. So with that being said, let's jump into a super brief recap. We did 4 deep dives into Diddy's case in 2024 after his arrest. Part 1, we cover the FBI raids of his mansions, the leaked hotel security footage of Diddy allegedly physically assaulting Cassie, his girlfriend at the time,
Allegedly.
and multiple accusations from victims allegedly harmed at Diddy's infamous so-called freak-off parties. In part 2, we cover Diddy's history and lore, including allegations against Diddy's son, their yacht parties, the untimely death of Diddy's ex-partner and mother to his children, Kim Porter. Part 3 was an interesting one. It covers a lot of different connections that people have made between Diddy and 13 people who have mysteriously passed away, including Biggie, Tupac, and the 1999 City College incident that killed several people in a crowd crush at an event promoted by Diddy himself. Then in part 4, we went over the rumored Diddy's list, which includes all the internet allegations about celebrity friends who internet users believe may be connected to Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. And now, starting Monday, May 12th, we're going to be doing daily episodes, daily updates on Diddy's trial. There are no cameras, no live streaming
Daily.
allowed in federal courtrooms. There's no way to really get that type of information. We can't even bring our phones or laptops in. Everything is even just hand notes. It's very serious. He is facing 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking, 2 counts of transportation across state lines for the purpose of sex work. Diddy has rejected a plea deal, and he is facing a maximum sentence of life imprisonment if found guilty on all charges. So this past week, was jury selection. Opening statements are projected to start Monday. And in some sense, it kind of is Diddy fighting for his life. There will be multiple in-person witness testimonies, including Cassie, Diddy's ex-girlfriend from the hotel video, and we will be giving you guys daily updates on all of that as well. So with that being said, let's get started. I think the only thing that matters in a courtroom, and I was doing so much research about this before we went into jury selection, not we, but is that the 12 people that are on the jury, this is the only thing that really matters, is that they like the defendant more than they like the prosecutors, or vice versa. That's what the government, that's what the defense are trying to do. Does this person like us maybe a little bit more than they like the other person? Obviously, that's very simplified. But is it? Some jury experts believe trials can be won or lost in jury selection. The first week, the first few days. I was watching a ton of videos, reading articles written by attorneys, and I find it fascinating that most of them say jury selection is not about selecting a juror. It's about deselecting jurors. One jury expert puts it a little more blunt. You're trying to get rid of the jurors who are going to ruin your case and will not be receptive to your arguments. Don't focus on jurors you want. Focus on jurors you don't want. But in that same regard, you have to ask yourself, if I try to get this person out of the jury, am I going to have a less desirable potential juror replace them? Other attorneys candidly write on Reddit, pick your leaders and pick your sheep. That's the rule that I live by. You need 4 people who you think you can really speak to, and they got to be leaders. And they're going to listen to you, and then later when they deliberate, they're going to lead the followers to the answer that you want.
Wasn't one of the latest addition to Diddy's team
Yes, a jury consultant.
so her whole job is this?
Yes, that's all she's doing. And she does that for many trials. Now, others say, pick your leaders. Yeah, that's true. But also pick them wisely. You want strong thinkers, strong leaders that are great at advocating and leading conversations, that also like you. But you don't want strong-willed jurors. According to one attorney, strong-willed, domineering jurors are the most dangerous because they try to drag the others with them. Letting one of these into your jury can ruin the entire jury. Pay attention to the degree of certainty and confidence in which they respond to questions. If in any way, it's not even about the question being asked, because a lot of the questions being asked during jury selection are very repetitive. Are you going to be able to not be biased? Yes, you saw the hotel video, but are you going to be able to put that aside and not be biased? The questions themselves don't say a lot.
The answer is no.
It's the way the jurors
for me,
answer the questions. If in any way they exhibit a tendency to challenge the question, strike them, get them out.
Oh.
One jury consultant says, trials aren't completely won and lost in jury selection, but all lawyers acknowledge it's a big part of winning. Pick the perfect jury and your job gets so much easier. Make some mistakes in jury selection and you're essentially down 10 points with a minute to go, because how jurors' brains work matter more than how you present the case. I believe that is the most important phase of the trial. To which one famous jury consultant says, jurors are not empty cups. They're not little empty cups where lawyers get to pour their information in from both sides and see which one they like. Jurors serve as filters. The way they process the information distorts some of the evidence before arriving to their decision. Basically saying, it doesn't really matter how good your case is if someone has such a strong fundamental bias against your case that you did not catch during jury selection, you might as well quit and move to Florida and change your government name, because you're not going to be able to convince them. That's how these attorneys describe it. Surveys done on jurors, a lot of them, they actually start forming opinions on everyone in that courtroom. I mean, obviously not people in the pews, everyone in the courtroom before the trial even starts. They're typically looking at, a lot of the times, the prosecutors and the defense attorneys, and obviously the defendant. They're typically looking for competent, energetic, organized attorneys who seem appreciative, patient, sympathetic, good listeners. They're looking for a pleasant presence, not the shrug presence that Diddy brought, but I don't think they care for that for him. Progressively, as the days go on, Diddy does seem to get a lot more confident. The first day that he walks in, he's wearing a white collared shirt, dark navy sweater on top. It's your very typical court defendant outfit. His hair is grayish white. And the way that my researcher describes it the very first day, because his demeanor does change a little bit the second day, she says, this is not Puff Daddy. This is a man named Sean Combs. This is a 55-year-old man with probably a bad left knee. Which I would say is very accurate. There were multiple times throughout the first week of trial where either Diddy starts slapping his left knee under the table, like just really slapping it. It's not loud, but you can see like he's slapping it or chopping it. Or where there's brief moments where everybody stands up and stretches to use the restroom, he will start stretching that specific left knee. He'll like lift it up in a 90-degree angle and kind of move it in circles and then back down. I digress. Now, since cameras are not allowed in the courtroom, I think the courtroom sketches, they're incredible. I think there's some debate about them online. I think they're beyond the scope of my capabilities, so I can't say anything, but sometimes maybe it's my brain rot frontal lobe. I just have a hard time trying to picture him from the courtroom sketches. Like even during his previous court appearances, I just couldn't understand what he looked like. So we have an edited picture for you. This was done using Photoshop. This is not like an AI generated image. It's literally a photo of Diddy, and by we, I mean the RM team members who actually know how to use Adobe, unlike me. He does look pale. He looks like he could use a lot more vitamin D, but it's not like he can put in a request for that. A lot of people say that he's lost weight. I think that he gained quite a bit of weight before getting arrested, and compared to that timeline, he did lose weight, but he doesn't look particularly frail or anything of that sort. He's still quite the sturdy looking guy. I thought it was interesting because visually, he looks a lot older than 55. He looks a lot older than he is.
Really?
Oh.
Yes, he looks like jail is doing a number on him. However, this is the weird juxtaposition. I felt when he moves around, minus his bad knee, the visual, he looks a lot older, but he's not slow. He doesn't seem physically unwell. Like, I feel like he could run a mile.
Maybe it's the hair and...
Maybe, and I do think it's the lack of sun, probably. And when he needs to get up from his chair, I mean, this man is up. For example, when a juror walks in or when a juror walks out of the courtroom during individual questioning, so it's one juror at a time, Diddy and the defense team typically stand up. He's pretty quick with it. He's not gripping the sides of his chair or the table to get up. He's not even slow. He's trying to make a good impression, is the feeling I have. He's up. He's very respectful. On 2 specific occasions, my researcher and I were scribbling in our notes, and we both looked at each other because Diddy, we felt, in our opinion, shot up out of his chair quicker than he normally does. And we look, and it's a very beautiful female juror with a lot of assets. Yeah.
Sir.
Really?
Yeah, and we both wrote it individually in our notes.
Like the way he just shoot up.
Yes, and the way he just kept lingering and staring.
Right.
Like all the other attorneys sat down first, and then he sat down. I mean, he could have been zoning out and thinking about lunch, or the case. I don't know. So the white hair does kind of throw it off. It seems like he's turning into a full-blown grandfather, but physically he seems fine. Day 1, he walks into the courtroom, and my researcher was telling me, and he did this again day 2, he does this practically every day in court. He starts coming out into the courtroom, shaking all of his attorneys' hands, hugging them. Then he puts his hand to his chest and mouths thank you to the people who came to support him. So other people, I guess, related to his legal team or his friend, and they're in front of us, and he's like saying thank you. Sometimes he'll look around and put his fist to his chest for his friend. Again, his family will, I believe, be there on Monday, so we'll see what his interactions with them are. Diddy mouths thank you, and you can't really hear it. And with that, day 1 starts. It's a pretty big day. A whole group of jurors are going to be brought into the courtroom. So this is, again, same thing, but they're going to sit in the church pews directly behind Diddy. So they all get brought in behind Diddy using the massive 2 doors that I came through. And I sit right. They come and they sit in the pews right behind Diddy.
How many came in at a time?
Like 40.
Oh, wow.
Whoa,
And they
shit.
just single file come in and they just line around the pews, okay? So they take up like 5, 6 pews, and they're going to be sworn in. But while they're coming in a single file line, Diddy and the defense are staring at them.
Well,
Which makes sense because a lot of these attorneys, they write online and they write articles. You want to know their age, race, gender, probably even the way they're dressed to get a grasp of, do they have any certain hobbies, socioeconomic status? What does their attire say about them? What does their posture say about them? Do they look annoyed to be here? Do they look too enthusiastic to be here? The jurors get sworn in, and then they get brought back out of the courtroom. And then they go wait in another courtroom. So then they're each called in one by one for an individual questioning.
They are very serious because some of these people is going to determine Diddy's fate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they only have that window of time to decide,
Yes.
right?
I will say so Diddy and his attorneys take 2 rows of the desks and chairs. Linda Moreno, which is his jury consultant, was, to me, closer to the judge, so she's behind Diddy. I couldn't get a good look at her, but from the 4 attorneys that sat on Diddy's row, Diddy and Brian Steele, Young Thug's former attorney, they looked most intense when they stared at the judge.
wait. He has the Young Thug attorney? Did he change? Because I like the Young Thug attorney. Why is he representing Diddy? That's sad. I mean, he's doing
Whereas
his job.
The other attorneys, they were looking, but it wasn't it didn't feel so intense. Diddy and Brian Steele, I'm like, whoa. Just staring at their faces is very, they're locked in. I'm sure everybody is, but they look extra locked in. They walk in one by one, and this happens multiple times, but it almost seems like every time the jurors come in, Diddy kind of nods. It's like he's doing a head count, but I don't think he's doing a head count. It's just a thing he does. He has moments where he just nods, it feels, to me personally. And it's not a big nod. It's like an ever so slight. Like you're thinking to yourself. You're nodding to yourself. You're not confirming oh yeah, let's do that nod. It's to myself.
Does it happen to everyone or most of them? Or
When all of them come in that single file line, he's kind of nodding the whole time. Day 1, both of my researchers were freaking out and telling me, I'm in the car on the way to meet with them, and they're like, there's this moment where after the jurors leave, he turns around and his hands are at hip level, and he kind of rubs them slowly. It's not sinister. It's not like creepy. Like, it just felt like, okay, let's do this. It didn't feel like, yeah, I'm going to take them. It just was like, all right, let's go. So now the jurors are going to come in one by one for individual questioning. But before they can even bring in the first juror, you know when you're in a classroom for the first time and you've walked in, you sit down, you haven't spoken a word, suddenly the teacher calls on you and you have no idea how to project your voice because you're like, I don't know if this is loud enough when my teacher is all the way over there. Like, I don't know, but then I don't want to scream because that's embarrassing. It's just like, how far is my voice going to travel? I don't know. You're trying to grasp it. Diddy's lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo, stands up to ask the judge, I'm constrained to ask for another 2-minute bathroom break. I apologize. The judge is confused. Well, why don't we try to get through at least 10 jurors? So previously, they already had another bathroom break. And my researchers said it was so quick. I mean, it just looked, they were like, I don't even know if Diddy peed.
No, they say.
They also said, we also don't know if he washed his hands because it was just too quick. Like, did he not pee or did he not wash his hands? Because they think in their timeline, maybe we're slow movers. That they're like, I couldn't have peed and washed my hands like that in that amount of time span. It was just so quick.
It was super brief.
Yeah. And then and then court is back in session. Then he's asking for another bathroom break. So the judge is like, well, why don't we try to get through at least 10 jurors where, I mean, do we really need to take one now? Diddy lifts his butt up from the chair a tiny bit, and I cross-reference both the researcher's notes. He raises his hand near his head level, and the pointer finger, the index finger, is slightly upwards, but it's not like pointing. It's kind of like, oh, excuse me. But he's barely looking up at the judge. He seems very meek the first day. He barely raises his voice.
What does
and
meek
this is when he says the 9 or so words that everybody was talking about. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm a little nervous today. This is considered the first thing Diddy has said in court.
And did he get a bathroom break after that?
Yeah, he did.
How long does usually one individual juror's session take?
It really depends.
Like
it's
5
like
minutes?
39 a day. And then there's group questioning.
Yeah.
And then there's also a few breaks and like lunch.
Okay, so it's like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, and then
maybe?
it really depends. Like some jurors, if they don't answer yes to specific questions, they don't
Okay.
really ask anything more.
I see.
Recently, Drake released this new song. And
Nokia?
okay, it's just not been a good year for Drake. I mean, I feel like years ago, all the titles are like the new face of hip hop. Now
Yeah.
the article headlines are we sure Drake is okay?
No.
Maybe this is his comeback. Maybe this is his partial recovery from what happened with Kendrick Lamar. He's going to
Doubt
release
it.
new music with engaging lyrics. And this one song, the lyrics read, I've been in the house, but I'm coming outside tonight. Yeah, I love how you always be speaking your mind. People want to meet up, talk about shit. I'm vegan now. Evil eyes are staring at me, and I see it now. Shout out to Brian Steele. Take off the cuffs. We leaving now. The whole song is called Brian Steele. So who the hell is Brian
What?
Steele, and why is there a song named after him on
What?
a Drake album? Brian Steele is one of Diddy's defense attorneys, but he's most well known for being Young Thug's
Yeah.
attorney. This is the man that with his full chest said, Your Honor, Young Thug? More like young, truly humble under God. That's what his name means. Okay, he didn't say it like that. He said it much more eloquently.
He would be truly humble under God. That's what thug means.
But it was equally goofy. He also shows a picture of Young Thug that supposedly shows him making the letter B with his hand, which I guess the prosecutors were trying to argue that means a gang, that's a gang sign. Pretty much, that's a B, which I think by a lot of netizens, or really anyone with some ocular capacity, could see that it does indeed probably look like a B. It's like an eye exam, and you put the super clear slide, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a B, right? I'm being dramatic, but Brian Steele disagrees. He said, that is not a B. That is a P, because my client,
Is
Young
dyslexic?
Thug, truly humble under God, is pushing positivity. P for positivity.
And it's positivity. It means any circumstance you're in, if you think positively about something, you can make it through. You're pushing positivity. You're pushing P.
Listen, I don't know. You know, I don't even want to get too deep
Why
into the
does-
Brian Steele
this
lore
is
and the Young Thug case
goofy.
because I might do a whole separate deep dive on
You
that one.
should.
But now that same attorney is sitting on Diddy's left side. He's sitting right next to Diddy for jury selection. and he is interesting. And this is the part where I feel like, please listen to the wording in all of this. I'm trying to describe exactly what I saw in that courtroom, and we went in with the idea of, especially for jury selection, we wanted to see how the jurors would react to the defense and the prosecutors. So, I could have walked in and been like, I personally don't like Diddy, so I personally wouldn't defend him if I were an attorney, so I personally don't like the defense attorneys. Like, I could have just walked in like that, right?
Yeah,
But I
but
did want to
that's
see
counterproductive.
from a more neutral perspective of maybe how some of the jurors would feel. And I will say Brian Steele is very likable. All of Diddy's
Really?
attorneys are incredibly likable if you remain neutral.
Uh-oh.
In what sense?
Yeah, let me run you through it. And this is very interesting because there is a poet that reportedly even said a jury consists of 12 people who decide who has the better lawyer. And if that's the case, the prosecutors, they're also a dream team. They're like heavy hitters. But the defense, they're basically courtroom predators. They look like the popular kids.
Oh,
How many
okay.
were there?
Oh, there were a lot. So on the row that Diddy was sitting, it was his two main leads, and then two to his left, and then there were three in front of him, and then there were a few in the pews. I mean,
Wow.
he's spending a lot of money. A lot of money. It's reported, alleged, by a Young Thug song that Young Thug spent $2 million for Brian Steele. And I'm sure it was more because that trial was the longest trial, I think, in Georgia history or something crazy. His defense team are courtroom predators, and I say that with respect and a lot of fear. Have you ever heard the quote, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression?
Mm.
That's the feeling. So according to one attorney, trial attorneys are professional communicators with their body. That's what they're supposed to do, or at least the good ones. According to some jury experts, they believe, at the very least, this is a very conservative number, a defense attorney's message is conveyed 55% through their body language and tone, and not the words. I'm not insinuating that that's what's happening here with Diddy's team, but yeah, I think they're all incredibly successful for a reason. One attorney says when you walk into that courthouse, you're on. Everyone is watching. In that courtroom, the jury is watching you, not when you start talking. They're watching you from the moment you walk in, long before you say anything. They will notice everything about you and draw conclusions about who you are.
Yeah.
It is advised that trial attorneys, especially in the beginning, perhaps practice smiling, a soft smile in the mirror, so they have a neutral, natural, resting facial expression. I don't know if any of Diddy's defense attorneys stare at a mirror when they get home, but I would believe it if you told me they did, because they're incredibly polished. They're friendly, and aside from Diddy just sitting there at their table, a lot of people in the courtroom seem to like the defense team. They seem to
Really?
have good relationships with the prosecutors. A lot of them used to work at the DA's office.
Oh,
Yeah, it seems.
really?
I mean, not the defendant, I don't know about that, but the defense team. So you have his lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo. Appearance-wise, he has salt and pepper hair. I would say more like 70% pepper. I'll keep you updated on if that progresses one way or another during the trial. He has a bit of a rounder face, which actually makes him look a lot more approachable and younger. In a lot of the pictures I find of him online, he looks kind of angry. I think he usually gets his picture taken when he's mid-sentence talking about clients outside the courtroom. So he does look kind of, his eyebrows are crunched together. He doesn't look nice. In court, he looks mainly focused. He doesn't look particularly stressed or angry ever. And I'm sure that's something that all the defense attorneys are trying to show in their demeanor. He's got more of a geeky energy to him. He walks in with one of those backpacks that are like double the size of his back. It's like the backpacks that the smart kids have in school, the one with 10,000 different zippers, which I feel like is less utilitarian and more like bragging about one's finger dexterity, but he has one of those backpacks. His energy overall is the dad that you ask to take a picture of you on the iPad, and then he'll take a picture of himself and hee ha ha to himself. That's the
Okay.
energy. I'm not saying this is who he is. I'm not saying he's a great person. He has defended lots of questionable people. I'm just saying that's his energy. If I know nothing about him and I walk in as a potential juror, like that's the energy I would get personally. Mark Agnifilo is known for representing Keith Raniere, Nixium cult leader who was sentenced to 120 years in federal prison for similar charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. Keith Raniere also, he liked to wear the defendant's starter pack, white collared shirt, blue sweater, and the way that Mark represented Keith could tell us maybe about how he's going to talk about his new client, Diddy. He does the very typical, you might not like Keith Raniere, you might not like what he did, it's disgusting, it's offensive, it's gross, ooh, all that sexual stuff, but you can't convict him because everyone was a willing participant. You can't convict someone for being disgusting and repulsive and offensive. It's not against the law. AKA, a lot of people think that the defense is going to try and say that there's no sex trafficking in Diddy's case, that it's just Diddy being a swinger. AKA, jurors, you might not agree with the lifestyle, but that doesn't make it a crime. Now,
being unemployed is not doing me so good, but I am still surviving, so we're doing okay.
Despite Mark's slightly approachable, unassuming look, he clearly is a very intense man. One person describes him as a boxer moving through the courtroom, controlled, watchful. Every word is a jab. Every cross-examination is a calculated strike. He has an unimaginable ability to navigate high-pressure cases. One person says he's built a reputation off of taking cases to trial rather than settling. He prefers to challenge government allegations head-on. To put it simply, this man is probably a tank in the courtroom.
Ooh.
But this is still probably one of his most challenging
Who's the
cases
DPS
yet.
and who's the support?
Now, side note, he has now joined his wife Karen Agnifilo in defending Luigi Mangione, so he is officially on that legal team.
Really?
Yes, and Luigi Mangione and Diddy are in the same prison, or jail. One netizen comments, people have mixed feelings about all this. You know, fact, people in America are constitutionally allowed to have representation, so you guys need to stop being mad as defense attorneys. Another comments, people trash attorneys until they need one, then they'll find out the true value. But another netizen argues, just because someone has a right to an attorney does not obligate any particular attorney to represent them.
Facts.
Agnifilo represents wealthy criminals because it's a good payday. But another netizen has the opposite sentiment. Lawyers are going to lawyer. Believe it or not, defending
their job.
criminals is not a crime. You seem to be arguing in bad faith from a position of ignorance. They argue back. I also believe everyone deserves a defense attorney, but I also believe defense attorneys that defend obvious monsters like P. Diddy will gain some bad monster baggage. If he really believes Diddy's innocent, maybe he should defend him for free. Others just say, seems like the Agnifilos are going to have a very prosperous year, financially. Another netizen comments, I'm not shocked by this in the slightest. He defends the worst of the worst. Along with Mark Agnifilo, you have Tenny Garagos. Tenny she's so put together. She walks in 4-inch heels. She's ready for the day. She's probably most well known for posting a few TikToks last year, more or less defending Diddy on social media, which you can imagine social media and TikTok did not like.
Ew. Unemployed, I am so tired of staying at home. Girl, listen, staying at home is not the issue for me. Because I can stay at home for free. I was working from home. It's more the lack of income. That's my main issue. Being poor. I hate it.
All right, here we go again. Diddy sued by a former bandmate. I'm his lawyer, and here's why you should care. Last night, Dom.
Some accuse her of being a sellout. Others point out that in one particular interview, it appears that she's wearing white nail polish. I will say it looks a little more baby pink. And some just comment, you know what? No shame in her game. A lot of people, regardless of her own success thus far, though, she's kind of known to be a Nepo baby. But other people say, well, yeah, she's a Nepo baby, but she's still
is she good?
Pretty accomplished.
That's what I want to know.
Right.
I don't care if she's a Nepo baby.
Others
Is she
comment,
good?
I love that she's following in the footsteps of representing the scum of the earth, just like her father did. I mean, somebody's got to do it. I do think that watching her in the courtroom, she might be a Nepo baby, and maybe you can tell
Who's her daddy?
by some of her outfit choices or her bag choices. She looks really rich. And we might all have our opinions on people who defend Diddy, yes. But the way she works, I think objectively, she's very good at what she does. But what do I know? She seems very in control. She's poised. She's sharp. Her father is famous attorney Mark Garagos. He's known for a lot of cases. He represented Hunter Biden, Chris Brown, Michael Jackson, the Menendez brothers. He actually just took them on in 2023. So I don't believe he was part of the original trial. So he is advocating for a new trial. Then he represented Scott Peterson, who is actively seeking to overturn his murder conviction, by the way, and we might do another deep dive on that.
Who is he again?
But Mark Garagos has a whole podcast, so he's not officially on Diddy's legal team.
His daughter is.
Yes, and he's a long-term legal consultant for Diddy. He has a podcast with TMZ called Two Angry Men, which got him into a lot of trouble recently. He goes on there and he calls the prosecution team a, quote, six-pack of white women.
My understanding is you got a six-pack of white women.
To which later, according to court transcripts, the judge tells Mr. Garagos, when you say
Exactly.
things on a podcast like six women,
It's rough
all
out
white,
here.
my understanding is that you got a six-pack of white women?
Especially in this economy. But we shall prevail. We shall prevail, hopefully.
That's something that you shouldn't, that no one should be saying as an officer of the court and a member of the bar, right? To which Mark Garagos responds, I think when you've got a black man who's being prosecuted and the client feels like he's being targeted, it's an observation. The judge doesn't seem to be having it. I think this is ridiculous. I think referring to the prosecution in this case as a six-pack of white women is outrageous. Right? And I understand what you're saying about the cases and everything else, but
I mean, historically speaking, white women were never good for black men. Historically speaking. So I can understand where he's coming from.
I think this is outrageous, and this would not be tolerated in any court from any lawyer anywhere across the nation. And I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to be listening, all right? You have one more listener for your podcast. To which Mark Garagos responds, as long as you subscribe, I'm all for it. The judge hits back, you heard me, and you've heard what I've said. You know I'll be watching. This judge is very intense. This is the same honorable sir that just looked like he biked to work. This judge is very multifaceted. There's a clip of him walking into the courthouse, and he's wearing athletic wear. He has got his big headphones on.
He looks so
and
young.
it's very different from when he's in the courtroom. He, so far, is a very compassionate, fair, firm, incredibly sharp judge. He's so sharp. His brain, it runs on 5 times speed.
Really?
And he's like a tank. He's like, you guys have to tell me about lunch because I'm just going to keep going. Yeah. He's a Judge Subramaniam. He is a former clerk for Justice RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He's the first Indian American to be the New York District Court judge. He was nominated to SDNY in 2022 by former President Biden. And now the clip of him walking into the courthouse for work, it starts going semi-viral.
Hi,
looks
hi,
so
see
young,
the
he looks like an
first.
intern, and I say that in the coolest, most respectful way. He's so multifaceted, Your Honor. The comments to him, however, are unhinged. They read, he's bumping to Cassie's songs. He's listening to Diddy's No Way Out. Some comment, I don't know why, but this makes me trust him more. Others say, I feel like the judges who take on serious cases like this should be provided security.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. Especially in Trump's America.
Is like embarking on an adventure where you suddenly need to become an expert in everything overnight. When my family and I started Grandpa Mingo's limited edition artwork, it was a lot. One day,
Very little context for what is happening, but it's fascinating. Lavender, I'm gonna use this ad break to tell you what's happening. You know P. Diddy, Puff, aka Puff Daddy, billionaire, black man, entrepreneur, music mogul, one of the biggest names in the music industry and in Hollywood. The man who was known to
with world-class expertise,
like have the best party in Hollywood. Like once upon a time, being invited at a Diddy party was a badge of honor. You know what I mean? Like, did you really make it in Hollywood if you were unless you were invited in a Diddy party? Like being invited to a Diddy party meant that means that you are someone. You're becoming someone. You know. So and then now we know him as baby oil diddler, rapist, possibly maybe even pedophile, bisexual, fucking psycho. The contrast is very different because, yeah, it's weird. It's very weird going from like what I used to know him for to what I know him for now, and now this is basically his trial. Like Rotten Mango was invited as part of the member of the press to his trial, and she's literally just talking about everything that's happening. She's literally just like talking about what's happening in trial because she's not allowed to bring a phone. They're not allowed to bring like any kind of like recording media, whatever, and she's literally just reading her notes. She has like her own team of researcher with her, and she's basically walking us through his trial. And this first video is basically the first week of trial. And I think next week she's probably gonna start. Next week. Yeah, anyway. She's probably gonna start giving us even more like basically updates on what's happening with trial of the century or whatever. He needs to be super famous, but now the man is charged on like 8 different charge, allegedly R-worder, abuser, and human trafficking. Exactly. He is like he went from being like this huge, respectable name to a name that you do not want to be associated with in any way, shape, or form. Like you used to be associated with Diddy, and it was like hell yeah, that person is like I want to be with that person. And now if you are associated with Diddy, you probably did some stuff. Like it's crazy. The contrast is still mind blowing to me.
But back to the defense attorneys. You have Mark, you have Tenny, the lead attorneys. Then you have Diddy. So this is the seating order. It's like, and I'm sure this is going to change depending on what they're talking about. But Mark, Tenny, Diddy, and then Brian Steele sits on the left of Diddy for jury selection week. And according to the New Yorker and a defense attorney from Atlanta, Brian Steele's from Atlanta. According to a defense attorney that worked with Brian Steele for 30 years, he says, Brian doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he can't believe anybody would. He won't curse, even in court, even if he's reading from a transcript. So when he's cross-examining, he will say, so-and-so F word. The court will say, you can read that out loud, and he won't do it. He only drinks water. His lunch is tofu or salmon, maybe a salad, no bread. I've never seen him eat out. He'll bring a toothbrush to court. He exercises daily before and after court, running, swimming, weights. He has 3 kids, a wonderful wife who is also his law partner, and they kind of idolize each other. So his wife's name is Colette. And just a side note, I'm going in depth on all these attorneys, and I will go in depth later on the prosecution team as well. I'm not entirely sure what the word would be. They were less notable during the jury selection. I'm sure once opening statements start, I mean, they're a very competent team, so we'll go in depth. I just want to paint the picture because we're going to be talking about them for like 2 months. Yes, you can Google pictures.
2 months
there's
only?
like a certain energy, like a synergy when they're all in the same room, and I want you to be able to picture it every day and not go through the same things, because I think a lot of evidence, witness testimonies are going to come up. We just won't have time for that. So he always says in the phonetic alphabet, C as in Colette, which is his wife's name, right? Apparently he's also superstitious. I haven't seen this yet, but he will allegedly kiss a finger or tap on a table anytime death is mentioned. Apparently
Exactly,
he
I
likes
see.
to call his childhood friends mothers to tell them thank you for giving birth to my friend. Also in 1992, Brian Steele was assigned to the case of an illiterate man who was charged with attempted murder in Atlanta. He actually slept in the jail with him because that man he was distrustful of Brian Steele and did not want to say anything. He was not the killer, or he was not the attempted murderer. So he slept in that jail room to try to get him to open up and trust him. And Brian Steele apparently once said, a fair trial is better than sex. He's also said, I've defended people who cut out eyes and ate them. The system only works when the accused have real representation. The more challenging the case, the more likely I'll take it. Do I like the person I'm defending? That's the main thing. The reporter for the New Yorker asked Brian Steele if he would have represented Epstein. He says, I'd have to understand better all the facts and circumstances. See, I don't believe allegations. I go into believing the person is innocent. So he's saying it's not like he doesn't believe the allegations against Jeffrey Epstein, but he doesn't believe in allegations, I guess, until they're confirmed by the court of law.
What about Diddy?
Netizens seem to have more positive sentiments about Brian Steele than many of the other attorneys. More people are defending his choice of defending Diddy. Others are commenting, ugh, or a depletion. Others feel genuinely offended because I think they were emotionally invested into Brian Steele after the unfair trial. Some people comment, I mean, he's a defense attorney, defending the accused, even bad people, and making sure that the state proves their case is his job, I guess. To which someone comments, I don't think anybody's going to hold it against him for not getting Diddy out, right?
I mean,
Except
I
maybe
fucking
Diddy.
hope.
Others say, dude's gonna make so much money. He's gonna do pro bono work at the local courthouse after this. Other people say, I mean, on an emotional level, I'm disgusted that anyone would sign up to defend Diddy, but outside my emotions, this is necessary.
Honestly, because Brian Steele, the only reason why I know him is because of the Young Thug trial. Like, the Young Thug trial was something else, and Brian Steele was working overtime for his client. Like, I don't know much about lawyers, but his name really, like, he gained the respect of a lot of people because it was a very kind of like, it was a very public trial that had a lot of people kind of see the law differently, and that's because of him. Like, he what he did for Young Thug is crazy. Like, he saved his life. So to see him going from Young Thug to P Diddy is like, it's disappointing, but at the same time, Diddy has like a team of like what, 10 lawyers. This billionaire is probably spending at least like, he's spending millions. Like, I'm sure each of them probably cost him like 2 mil. Like, this is crazy. It's kind of crazy.
State has to prove their case, and defense attorneys don't always defend likable people. His work is necessary, even if I want Diddy locked up. The New Yorker describes him of having a Boy Scoutish manner. And I could see that. He seems really interested in everything happening in court. All the attorneys are. No one looks like they're zoning out. But he's sitting left of Diddy, and maybe this is a natural thing. Maybe he's got a better right hip and he likes to lean to the right? But being an attorney for a case like this, it could be argued that maybe it's all intentional. He's always leaning closer to Diddy. He's always resting his right arm on the right side of his chair closer to Diddy because he's sitting on Diddy's left. He also has, the energy is Mark and Tenny are very serious. They're not overly serious or aggressive or skeptical. They're just very in work mode. Brian Steele, there's a lot of moments where he appears to be having a good time sitting next to Diddy.
Really?
Yeah,
Such
it's like
as?
they're passing notes.
Bro.
Brian Steele is smiling. And again, look.
Truly
I
on Ball
don't
Under God is
remember
hilarious.
seeing from the other side of the courtroom and my very limited research about Diddy's humor, but Diddy is a big personality. I have never read that he was known to be someone who just makes others chuckle at rapidly reoccurring frequencies, you know? Not that I know of, but Brian Steele seems to genuinely enjoy, I don't know about genuine, he seems to be enjoying his time sitting next to Diddy in the courtroom. But does he really? We don't know. Yeah, and he has a lot of interesting things that he does. I will say I believe the tapping on the desk when death comes up because a lot of his movements are very repetitive. So he wears reading glasses. If he is looking at the screen, he'll have them on. If he's not looking at the screen, he'll take them off, and he kind of puts the glasses tip into his mouth. He likes to stick things into his mouth, be it a pen, be it his glasses. He also has a bright pink water bottle that he drinks out of, and I'm like, I always try to analyze, is this very intentional to come off very likable, or is this genuinely just who this guy is? I don't know. He uses,
Likeable.
I see him frequently use a pink highlighter. He's got this stance. So anytime there's a break, Diddy's not like lingering and mingling. Diddy gets taken to the back because he needs to be held, and there will be breaks where people need to go use the restroom. And the lawyers, they can come out, the attorneys, they can come out and they can talk, not to the members of the press, they're on a gag order, but they can talk to their colleagues, they can talk to the prosecutors, they can talk to Diddy's friend, right? And they all just seem relaxed, they seem like the cool kids, but Brian Steele has his go-to pose. His blazer jacket is unbuttoned, he's got his hands on his hips, and he's got one hip popped out. It's like a very fun dad vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it is so genuine. I did read in a separate article that one judge said if Brian Steele cries in court, like he would believe it. He's very genuine, is the feel. But I don't know. I think he's a fascinating addition to the defense team. And I'm not saying this like, oh, Brian Steele is a good man. I don't know the man. He's a good man and he's defending Diddy, so that must mean something. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's very smart that he hired Brian Steele. Clearly, Brian Steele has extensive history with defending against RICO charges, racketeering charges, which Diddy is accused of. But I do feel like to some degree, was he brought on for positive press, positive associations?
I think so.
Because he was a huge meme during Young Thug.
Yeah.
Along with Brian Steele, we have Nicole Westmoreland, who also represented Young Thug. Notably, she is a survivor of SA. She is the only black woman on his defense team so far.
Interesting.
And I would say if netizens like Brian Steele, less people know of Nicole Westmoreland, but more people like her. A lot of people are really amazed at how she overcame trauma. She was SA'd in the past, and she became this successful attorney. A few netizens are concerned about the conversation around her being an SA victim and her joining Diddy's defense.
Yeah.
Some feel betrayed, writing, she should be ashamed of herself for defending him then. Or another one that reads, if she thinks mentioning her SA will be a strategy to help him, she's wrong. Which
I doubt you
I feel
will.
like is all kind of icky, the commentary about her essay that is by random internet people. And then you have Alexandra Shapiro. She's got shoulder length blonde hair. It's a little curly. She looks incredibly athletic. If you watch those movies about like New York City power women who do it all, that's the kind of energy she gives me. She looks like she's an attorney. On the weekend, she works on her novel, her fiction thriller novel, and then runs marathons. I don't know if she actually does that. I don't know if she runs marathons. But she is an attorney, and she did release a fiction thriller novel in 2022 called Presumed Guilty. And as someone who has to lay down after going out for approximately 1 hour, she seems like she's going to be running circles. We don't know what she's going to be deployed to do for this case, but she represented SBF. She's described as a former big law titan. She's also clerked for Ruth Gator Ginsburg, but not at the same time this judge did. Others say, call Alexandra Shapiro if you can afford her. Additionally, on the team, there's Xavier Donaldson, Anna Estavo, Jason Driscoll. They're all super successful attorneys, but they're less talked about. So there's not many things that we can go off of, at least not on the internet. So I guess it'll be interesting to see what they do during the trial. But all of them do have a presence about them. They know what they're doing. They're likable. They're the popular kids. One legal expert describes the team as, I'm looking at the team, especially on the first day of jury selection, it seems like they've got people who are experts in their own kind of general areas.
Honestly, I understand the bombastic side eyes, criminal offense side eyes. Seeing this black woman, survivor of SA, being part of Diddy's team is like, bitch, are they holding your kids hostage? Are you okay? Blink twice if you need help. You know, like that's the vibe that I'm getting, because what are you doing there? It's as for, I would say for her, it's such a bad look for her. It's such a bad look, no matter what. And on top of that, she's a woman, so you know she's gonna get way more hate than men for doing the same job. But the knowing her past is like, girl, I've ah, I hate that because like, okay, no, he also has a black man lawyer. I know it's not, it has nothing to do with race. It's all about their competency, but it's kind of still, because Diddy is literally one of the first black billionaire. You know what I mean? Like he used to represent something for the black community, like as some sort of like icon. Anyway, I don't know, but I know there's like a social commentary that can be done here about that.
I think the team that Diddy has put together are some heavy hitters in their own
Yeah.
rights, and they're working together as such.
Yep.
But maybe at least for this
Exactly,
past
Dove.
week, maybe the most
Also,
important
thanks for the follow.
person on Diddy's team is Linda Moreno, the jury consultant. She's here to help decide which jurors would be the most advantageous for Diddy. And again, we don't really get to, like the prosecutor, we're gonna cover it all. This is not like me just talking about Diddy's team. It's just there were not as many notable moments, and I think we won't really understand what angle they're going for until the opening statements. Now, one attorney completely unrelated to all of this, slightly controversial, bizarrely comments. Generally speaking, I mean, there's all these other small things you can do to find the right juror. The heavy, rounded face, happy-looking person is the most desirable. The undesirable juror is quite the slight, underweight, delicate type. Features are going to be sharp and fragile, and he's got a very lean look. The athletic juror is hard to categorize. Usually he is hard to convince, but once he's convinced, he will go all the way with you. As for Linda Moreno, she's a juror expert on anti-Muslim bias in American jury trials. The trial of Nora Salman, the widow of the Pulse nightclub shooter, Linda Moreno got her acquitted. That was the first complete acquittal of terrorism charges in America since 9/11. Now, without getting too much into her cases, at least not in this moment, she does have a fascinating way of picking jurors. For example, in one case, she was representing a client that was charged with explosives. She says it's all about picking a jury. So in that particular trial, one prospective juror talked about how her brother had served in Iraq and how she had grew up in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. A lot of people on the defense team wanted to get rid of this juror because you're dealing with explosive charges. This is not good. There's going to be a lack of understanding there. They don't want her on the jury, but Linda Moreno wants to keep her. She's saying she had a clear, strong voice, suggesting that she thought about a lot of things. And something she said really impressed me. You would have to live through the war in Vietnam to understand why people did what they did. She said, we're keeping her. She was firm. She said, if selected, she's going to have the sensitivity to put herself in other people's shoes. That juror was one of the 5 leading the jury to an acquittal.
That is so fascinating. I feel like nobody talks about like the deeper level of what these people will determine.
Oh, we're going to get into different, they have different methods.
What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, just you wait. So one person describes Linda as having a very gentle persistence that makes a huge difference. She does seem gentle. She's an older woman now. She seems very slender. She had on giant pearls, a pearl necklace. I mean, I think she must have been very successful in her career because those pearls were crazy. Yeah, they looked beautiful. Definitely not as strong as a presence, but maybe that's intentional. Maybe she wants to fly under the radar so she can analyze jurors without them feeling like she's analyzing them. And they're focused on the other attorney so she can just watch. I don't know. They say that she has a very laid-back politeness about her, to which Linda Moreno once said, I had to be polite but not shy to get things done. I also had to pay close attention to what people said. Another person says her instincts, her ability to read people, I mean, it has a lot to do with a lot of the great outcomes that attorneys will have if she's on their team. She was born a lawyer. No, I'm serious. So for her 12th birthday,
Born a
Linda Moreno
lawyer.
said that she received her favorite movie, which was 12 Angry Men, which is about jury deliberations in a murder case. Another colleague says, if anyone can figure out the jury, it's going to be Linda. It is also believed that she never has more than one client at a time. A lot of attorneys will have multiple clients at a time. She says that she likes to solely focus on just one case, and that's it. It is believed, this is not public information, so we don't know, it's believed that someone like Linda Moreno would charge Diddy around $1 million for her services to be a jury consultant.
Bruh.
Others argue it's probably going to be a lot more than that. One person who works with Linda says, what strikes me about her is her complete dedication to her clients, which continues to this day. Now, this is not something that Linda Moreno has said, but from our research, because I was so intrigued about like the different models, some attorneys will use their own model. It seems like most attorneys, at least from what I can gather on like subreddits where attorneys are talking about jury selection,
The obvious.
they have their
That's
own
what she said
model
earlier.
that they tweak depending on the charges of the case and depending on that specific defendant. But they all have some sort of tailored to them model that they like to categorize potential jurors. So these are very basic, probably dumb models, but I thought it was intriguing. So one model is the 3 categories of good juror, poison juror, and go with the flower juror. One attorney says, typically it's fairly simple to spot good jurors. You just say a joke and they'll laugh, or they'll give you eye contact, they'll nod, they'll do the smile. They're eagerly, not too eager, but just very happy to fulfill their civic duty. They're doing their best. Those are the good jurors. Then you have the poison jurors. These are typically cynical, they get agitated easily, and they like to be silent most of the time. That's what's dangerous, because they fly under the radar. Then you have go with the flowers. Quiet. Initially, they have indifferent opinions and are open to listening to the evidence. So clearly in this model, you want to identify and remove the jurors that are poison. Another model some attorneys say they like to use is the leadership authority model, classifying and dividing jurors based on their influence and decision-making approach. So there's 3 categorizations, or at least this model does. Leaders, so jurors who influence others during deliberations, they're going to be in the back rooms like, no, guys, look at this. They have strong personalities, they can sway the opinions of other jurors. And then you have authoritarians. In criminal trials, authoritarians typically favor the prosecutors. It's not a bad thing, it's just who they are. So the defense are going to want them out of the jury. Typically, they prefer police. They like authority figures. They have high respect for authority figures. They're not sitting there like, oh yeah, I love the police, but it's just in them. It's like an innate bias. Some people just respond better to authority figures than others. They often hold more conservative views on crime and punishment as well. Then you've got the followers, jurors who tend to be influenced by the stronger personalities and opinions in the jury room. They rarely take strong positions independently. Some attorneys will even further categorize and say, you need a 4th category in there. You need negotiators. They are so important. These people, they're not really the leaders, which are like, no, I think this. And then people are arguing. They're the peacekeepers. They facilitate negotiations. They keep peace by analyzing and verbalizing the issues. Then there's another model that instead of 3, they've got 4 classifications. You have traditionalist. So these are jurors that they like structure, they like established institutions, they typically naturally seem slightly unknowingly, probably even to themselves, in favor of the prosecutors. Then there's experiencers. They're very practical, they're present focused, they like to evaluate the evidence rather than debate abstract concepts of guilt and remorse and principles and values. Then you have the conceptualizers. They are thinkers who are not naturally empathetic. They seem less swayed by emotional appeals. And then lastly, you've got the idealists. More empathetic, more focused on human impact rather than the evidence. They're way more receptive to considering a defendant's circumstances. Typically, it's said defense attorneys like influential leaders with a skepticism towards authority. They exhibit natural leadership qualities, but they don't like institutional power structures. As for the temperament-based model, defense attorneys say they might prefer idealists. They're empathy-driven, especially if your client has mental health that's going to be coming into it, a mental illness or some sort of dire situation that they're trying to argue is for the case. They're empathy-driven. And then
Honestly, I think I would be a mix of like idealist, negotiation, and I would say like a little bit of leader, but not because I see myself as a leader. It's because I remember in school, my teacher were always telling me that I was like a leader because I would always lead the class to chaos, which is not necessarily a good thing. But by my influence alone, I would dictate how a class would go, which is not something that I would understand back then because I didn't really care. But I always thought it was weird because I don't see as me being like the clown of the class as being a good as being leader, as more like as a detractor or whatever. But I feel like just because of that, I'm like maybe unconsciously I would probably have like a little bit of leadership in me somehow, but I would mostly be like negotiator and do idealist or something. Because I do have empathy. I don't have any kind of sympathy for Diddy though. Like, you hear cases sometime where like you can kind of understand, like especially in case of like self-defense. So when you hear the story of like a woman who stabbed her husband to death because he's been fucking abusing her for the past 20 years, I'm gonna have mad sympathy for that. On God, I'm gonna be like, girl, I get you, I feel you, you did what you had to do. But in the case of Didi, I'm like, I don't give a fuck if he was born with mental health issue, he's still a monster. Conceptualizer, I forgot what conceptualizer do, but I think that's such interesting. It's so interesting though about like the jury thing. I find that fascinating.
And people that are super analytical, some defense attorneys like them because the burden of proof is on the government. So these people, they demand logical consistency in the prosecutor's arguments. They have high standard for the prosecutors. They identify flaws in forensic evidence chains, logical gaps in timeline reconstructions, overreach in expert testimony. They're very analytical. So all of this makes sense. But according to some attorneys, the absolute worst type of juror that you can have is a stealth juror.
What is
stealth
that?
Jurors deliberately conceal bias to infiltrate the jury.
Oh.
Usually you can tell when they have inconsistencies in their answers. Their written questionnaire, their responses versus what they tell the judge during their individual questioning, they don't match. Or sometimes they try to overcompensate and really sell themselves as being impartial. Usually stealth jurors, they have different motivations. Financial gain, media deals, book deals after the trial, ideological, maybe they have a personal vendetta, or just a lot of the times it's thrill-seeking, especially for high-profile cases. To just be like, I was part of that. One attorney states, stealth jurors pose catastrophic risk through undetected bias injection. Their influence persists throughout trial stages, often discovered only through post-verdict interviews. With that being said, I'm clearly not knowledgeable enough to know if any juror was a potential stealth juror, but there were some intriguing moments. Publishing houses have what's called a slush pile. It's like usually the big publishing houses. There's 5 big publishing houses in the US that dominate 80% of the market. They have a slush pile. It's a collection of unsolicited manuscripts sent to them by people seeking to get their wonderful book published. And it's a slush. People will open up a manuscript, read one page. If they don't like it, it goes into the slush pile. It's not getting published.
Wow.
Because in the world of publishing books, it's that cutthroat. A female juror is sitting next to the judge, and she has a high position at the publishing house Simon & Schuster.
Ooh.
She says, we publish lots of books, 2,000 books a year, and one book we are publishing in the fall is by another hip-hop artist. And I know that that book contains some information or some accusations. I haven't read the book. I probably won't be working on the book directly, but my office reviews all the press releases that go out, and I saw the press release after I filled out this questionnaire. So she's asked, like, did you find out anything else about the defendant or the case or anything related after you filled out this questionnaire?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the book, and what book is that? It's a memoir by another artist whom, I don't know, I don't remember the name of the author. I think it's called Do You Believe Me Now or something like that. And it's about his personal history, and I know it contains some accusations.
Ooh.
A male artist, yes. And you don't remember the name? No. She states she doesn't remember the name, just the press release. She explains, I saw the press release because my office, we review all the press releases, our different prints sent out to the media. So that's just one of my roles, is to kind of vet all the press releases. All right, now, what did the press release say? Just that it was an announcement that the book is publishing in the fall and sort of different topics it touches on, and this was one of the topics. And what did it say pertaining to this case, if you can remember in your mind? What did it say? I think the point, or what the press release is alluding to, is that this other artist has been accusing the defendant here for a while and hadn't been believed. That is what I took from the press release. Now, do you know anything else about the book? No. The judge asks her, considering she works in a company that's publishing a book written by someone making accusations, would it cloud her view in the case?
Yeah.
She says, no. I also would be very unlikely to read the book because I work on the executive team. I don't really get that involved on individual books. But it's tricky because she's salaried, so her bonus is tied to the company performance, the general company performance, which means her bonus is tied to the performance of all the thousands of books they publish, including the book written by Albie Shore about Diddy. I think the list of people who really do not like Diddy would be comparable to a CVS receipt times 10. It's a long list, but I do feel like at the top it's going to be 50 Cent and potentially, definitely Albie Shore. Now, just to recap, Diddy has 7 children. The first is Quincy Brown, but Quincy is not Diddy's biological son. He is Kim Porter and Albie Shore's biological child.
Oh,
It is believed
yeah.
that Diddy adopted Quincy. However, recently Albie Shore states in a documentary, there's no adoption. And if you haven't noticed, his last name is still Brown. Take that how you will. I have no idea which one is true. But there's Quincy, the oldest. Then there's Justin Dior Combs. He's Diddy and Misa Hilton's son. Then there's Christian Combs, Diddy and Kim Porter's first biological child together. Chance Combs, Diddy and Sarah Chapman's daughter. And then Delilah and Jesse Combs, the twins, Diddy and Kim Porter's twin daughters. And in 2022, Diddy had another baby, Love, with Dana Tran. So that baby's an infant. And all you need to remember at this point is that Albie Shore is Quincy's biological dad, and Kim Porter, the mother of many of Diddy's children, and Quincy's mother, is a longtime partner of Diddy, but also was married to Albie Shore before dating Diddy.
Cloud Chaser jury member, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But I'm not surprised about the Cloud Chaser jury member. That makes a lot of sense. I was waiting for something like that to be talked about. Thank you for the follow, Anna Sora 9. It's appreciated. My headphones aren't working right now. Can you chat instead? By the way, where are you from? I'm from IT. The subtitles are on the video. They're not on me, but like hopefully you can read the subtitles. I'm sorry for. I mean, you can probably not even hear that. Lots of books will come out. Beef with Diddy will not be uncommon. Oh, a lot of people have beef with Diddy. Like a lot of people have beef with Diddy. Because he was, even when he was at his peak, he was still a very unlikable person. He was very, like, mean, and he wasn't treating his employee right. So, you know. Anasora. All right.
So, Kim Porter and Albie Shore are married. They have Quincy. Kim Porter, they break up. Kim Porter starts dating Diddy. They go on to have multiple children together, and Diddy was very involved in Quincy's life. Now, after Kim Porter mysteriously passed away from pneumonia, that's how people think she passed away, mysteriously, there were all sorts of rumors flying around. Again, conspiracies, we don't know, right? That maybe she didn't die from pneumonia. Maybe she was writing a tell-all book about her relationship with Diddy, and she was done with Diddy and she wanted to be set free. Again, conspiracies, but after she passes away, Al B. Shore is very suspicious of Diddy. He even slips into a coma at one point, and he kind of insinuates that perhaps Diddy had something to do with him being in a coma.
Oh boy.
Al B. Shore went on to allege that Kim Porter confided in him before passing away, and he says, she started to confide in me. What she did say is that something's not right. Diddy's soul has gone completely dark. Like, he's just not there. That's what he alleges was said. He does allege that Kim Porter was writing a book, but nothing was done about it, saying someone got her passcode to her phone and her computer, and they found out, and she was writing what was going on behind closed doors. The public had no idea what was happening right in front of everybody's eyes, but there were a lot of people who turned a blind eye. In the documentary Making of a Bad Boy, the very documentary that Diddy is suing NBC for $100 million in a defamation lawsuit, in that documentary, Al B. Shore says, it was like 2 or 3 weeks prior to her murder. Am I supposed to say allegedly?
Oh, he just straight up said murder.
So all that's to say,
Damn.
the water is very deep between Diddy and Al B. Shore, and the potential juror works as a high-level executive at the publishing house that's going to be releasing Al B. Shore's book. The blurb for the book says, "Tell all," in this inspiring survivor's memoir that reveals the untold story of his near-death health emergency, shocking ties to Diddy, romance with late Kim Porter. Days after Homeland Security raided Sean Combs' compounds in a federal sex trafficking investigation, Al B. Shore declared that when people heard how he wound up in a coma 2 years later, they were, quote, really going to need to call Homeland Security.
So the book is not out yet.
No. Yeah.
So she's saying that, okay, we're publishing this book. I don't know anything about it. I don't care. I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
And I am qualified.
Yes, but I don't think she's like overly eager.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think a lot of people can interpret it different ways. So I don't want to put an interpretation out there because, but you could, I guess, some cynical people could say she wants to maybe write a book after. She's in publishing. Maybe she wants to write a book. Maybe she wants the thrill. Maybe it's fun, right? Maybe she wants to take off work. No.
Or just simply the fact that the connection is crazy.
Yes. Or maybe some people are like, maybe she genuinely doesn't care about any of these people and like in her head does not understand why it relates.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't care about any of these people, so obviously I can be unbiased. But the blurb is kind of crazy. The blurb continues. People called him crazy. Now back from the brink of death, he reclaims his power and truth in this incredible memoir about finding inner peace despite countless attempts to break him. The last lines of the blurb read, Al B. Shore is one of the few still living to tell the whole story.
Jesus
Which,
Christ.
I'm not insinuating anything, but that just feels like a bad sentence to even utter into existence whilst publishing a reportedly explosive memoir which is going to be titled, Do You Believe Me Now? It just feels like an unnecessary potential jinxing. Regardless of how one feels about Al B. Shore or the death of Kim Porter or Diddy, it probably would not provide Diddy a fair trial if this juror were on the jury. Why do we care if Diddy gets a fair trial? Because if he doesn't get a fair trial, the conviction could be overturned.
Yeah.
If there is one.
Yeah, I heard about
and
that.
Everyone should be entitled to a fair trial. So yes, justice, but also it's like, if you genuinely want justice, you need a fair trial.
Yeah.
She
You don't want
is
him to get out on
ultimately
the
excluded from the
technicality.
jury. Now, please keep in mind, anything I say in the entirety of this episode, especially right now, is a personal opinion. I've had a lot of personal opinions, great ones, and some bad ones. But whatever I say does not mean, oh, this action means he's doing this. Like, for example, there will be some days where I feel incredibly insecure about the way that I look and I start spiraling, and maybe in a video, I touch my hair because I feel ugly. But someone will comment, look at this narcissist, she's obsessed with herself. It's like a very different interpretation. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. So just take it like that. I don't know. This is just what I saw and how I personally interpreted what I saw visually with my eyeballs. With that being said, I personally felt like Diddy was kind of an iPad kid during moments of the trial. He was given an iPad by his attorneys to look at, specifically related to the case. It's just interesting. He has reading glasses and he will put them on kind of randomly I don't know if there's a method to it. I don't know. Maybe he is reading something and I just can't see it because he's further away. But it just seemed a little random. Sometimes they'd be on, sometimes they'd be off. So the first day, the researchers were like, they'd be on and then they'd be off at random times, to the point where we're like, we don't even know if there's a prescription in these, if these are even reading glasses. And then he would always put them on the desk, put them back on, put them on the desk, put them back on. It was a very feeling is how they felt. It was, do I feel like I want to put my glasses on? And then the second day, he started putting them up on the top of his head, and then putting them down, putting them at the top. Maybe we're overanalyzing absolutely nothing. But the way that Brian Steele would kind of tippy-tap on the iPad next to him, gave iPad kid, there's this fascinating moment on day 1 of trial, the very first day that jury selection begins, right before the jurors come in. At this point, it's just the judge, the court personnel, defense team, the prosecutors, and members of the press. The jurors are about to walk in that door. My researcher was like, Brian Steele reaches over, beep boop bops on the iPad. Beep boop bop. Front camera turns on, and they just see Diddy on the iPad, because it's the camera. The front camera's turning on, like a mirror, and he's wearing his reading glasses. And then Diddy proceeds to lift the iPad up 4 or 5 inches and looks at himself before putting it down. There's nothing deep about it. I'm sure he's just trying to make sure nothing's on his face for when the jurors actually come in. But they said it was so weird.
It's a fascinating visual.
Maybe he was taking
like
a
Brian
selfie.
Steele is older than Diddy, but he's over there beep boop bopping on the iPad for Diddy. It was weird.
Or maybe...
And then more cynically, I guess you could say, maybe this is all a thing. Make Diddy seem like a clueless, oh, I don't know what's going on. Can you help me? I'm kind of lost, and all these powerful attorneys know so much. Diminish some of his power. I don't know. In another part, this was, I saw this. Brian Steele is putting on his blazer. So sometimes he would just be in his dress shirt, and then he's putting on his blazer. And there's a little fuss about it. And Diddy is just all hands on board, helping him put his blazer on with both hands. So he's got his hand on the back of the collar for Brian Steele. His left hand is on Brian Steele's like neck area. And then his right hand is reaching over around Brian Steele's neck in the front to fix the collar. Now, can I just say something? I've never seen a man have trouble putting on a suit blazer. I don't even think that my own tailoring a shirt would be this. It was a lot. It wasn't even just like, let me fix your collar.
Yeah, like blazer is a pretty easy
collar fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It just
too.
was a lot of effort, just like a lot of.
So it does. Okay, I see what you mean. Like it does seem like they have a very close relationship from the visual.
This is my speculation. I don't know if it's true. I don't know what goes on in other people's minds. I feel like this is a thing that happens during trials. I think both of them are aware of what makes the defendant look good, and they both want the same outcome. And maybe they haven't had a conversation about it, but it seems like they both kind of play into it, is the feeling I get.
So were there jurors, or is it just the press?
I think at this point there were no jurors when he was putting on his.
Okay. But even for the media, it's like it's a visual that seems very. Maybe somewhat positive.
Yeah, maybe he's like helpful, fixing Brian Steele's. It just, I guess I've never seen someone need help fixing their suit blazer.
Yeah.
Because people put on suit blazers all the time, on and off.
Yeah.
And there is this one yawn where Diddy is standing up, the court had to rise, and he yawns, but he doesn't cover his mouth. So for like a fraction of a second, it just looks like he's silently screaming. And that was really... Yeah, another fascinating part that I noticed, and again, this could be coincidence, I could be looking too deep into things, I could have a personal bias that makes me interpret these movements as something that it is completely not. It's an eyewitness testimony, it's questionable, especially in my brain after 8 hours of sitting in there. But there's this moment where I recall seeing the sketch artist. She is in the first row, diagonal from Diddy, behind. And we're all the way behind her. Now, she has one of those binoculars that she wears. It's strapped to her head like a brain surgeon. She's wearing that. And she's mid-stroke with her charcoal. And Diddy, from my perspective, looks like he briefly glances back. He doesn't shift. He doesn't turn. He just kind of sees in his peripheral. I think he sees in his peripheral. Maybe he doesn't see her. But this is all coincidence. Maybe I'm hallucinating. But it's almost like immediately after, he turns back to face the front. He takes off his reading glasses and his shoulders roll back. And he sits a tiny bit straighter. It's not super obvious. It's not like suddenly his back is erect and his posture is 10 out of 10. But it did seem a little coincidental.
like, let me sit better for this portrait.
Yes.
Like, make sure that they pay me better.
Yeah.
Type of energy.
Yes. Now, other moments with jurors that were maybe slightly uncomfortable in the courtroom, I'm just going to pull them out rapid fire. One juror is asked about, in response to question 13, you indicated that you had a prior criminal issue, which is that you were caught shoplifting at the age of 16.
Oh,
How old are
16.
you now? 30. 30. Okay. And you say you were charged a fine, and just generally speaking, what happened? I was at Universal Studios, caught by security, taking an item. I think I was in Harry Potter World. So they took me to the back and just kind of like put me through all the process, and then I was mailed a fine. I got a lawyer. My lawyer handled everything, so I was. It was just a fine, and they put against me, and I was prohibited from going back to the park for about a year. And what is it? What did you take? A wand. Okay, so let's go to question 29. The question is, have you communicated to others or posted your opinion on social media or online or liked any social media posts about Mr. Combs? And you initially wrote no, and then you changed your answer to unsure. Yeah. So what did you like? I think it was a comedian. They made a joke because I guess when they went to his house, they found a bunch of baby oil. I remember liking it because I thought it was funny. That was really it. So there was a joke about baby oil, and you said you liked that comment.
There's a lot of joke about baby
What
oil.
was the reason why you liked that comment? It's funny, in my opinion. So I liked the video because I thought it was funny. Do you remember who the comedian was? Not off the top of my head. Another juror walks in, and she says that her musical interests are rock, hip-hop, and as well as, quote, I'm actively watching the concert of the group called BTS, or Bangtan Boys. There's nothing else notable, I just wanted to say that. Now, the next juror walks in, and he looks, from my opinion, kind of like a fraternity boy, but slightly sleazier, and I say that with respect. Like, this is, visually speaking, because I don't know this man, he looks like the type of guy that would graduate college and 10 years later still heavily rep his college fraternity merchandise and want to talk about how he was the coolest big to his little and still go
college
in depth
kid.
about Rush Week stories. That's the personal opinion vibe I get from him. He asks the judge a question. So number 11, I wasn't sure about allegations concerning distribution and use of illegal drugs. So I smoke marijuana personally for recreational use. Okay. And I'm not sure if that counts. So the question is asking, are you okay? Can you be unbiased if we talk about illegal drug usage?
I would snatch your wand, and I'm
he was
30.
like, well, I smoke. And there's a slight giggle in the courtroom, and the judge tells him, well, I wasn't asking about your use. Okay. But are you going to have any issues if there are allegations in this case about the distribution and use of drugs? Is that going to make you biased? No. The juror, to his very fine credit, he's incredibly honest, which I think is admirable. He basically states that he might have affected judgment, though, if he's on the jury. I use marijuana for personal recreational use, which might affect my judgment in making the right decision. Meaning that, well, are you able to not use marijuana during this trial? I'm going to order you not to use marijuana during this trial. Are you going to be able to follow that instruction?
Probably not.
Yes. And so if I give you that instruction and you follow it, you're not going to be having an issue. Correct. Yeah. When was the last time you used marijuana? Last night. Okay. How often do you use it per day? Once a day. And I said that I would perhaps order you not to use marijuana during the trial because you said it might affect your judgment. Would that be hard for you given how often you use it? Yes, it would be. Yeah. He was eventually excused.
Well, duh. I mean, at least he was honest, I guess.
Then the next juror walks in, and these are not in chronological order, but the door opens, the juror walks in, and he appears to be a middle-aged white man. But if he were Korean, this is a crazy statement, if he were Korean, I could see him kimchi squatting behind a convenience store and eating a roll of kimbap. That's the energy he gives me. Not smoking a cigarette because he's got children and a wife and kids that don't like the smell. That's the aura he gives me in my personal brain. He says, I admittedly don't read pop culture news. My wife makes fun of me for that. I have heard a few headlines, few accusations, just as a father of 2 young kids. You know, some of the accusations are troubling. The judge asks if he's going to be able to not have discussions about this case with his wife, who is on social media a lot. He says, absolutely. Okay, so then just on the form, why did you say that you had a reservation or concern about whether you're going to be able to follow these instructions? My wife, She watches Sunset, TMZ. Like, that's what she loves. And so I assume this case is going to be all over that, since she's a follower of that type of content, and that is a little concerning to me. But he does say, she's a fan, she does her own thing, I'm not around, I'm not going to go looking in her phone. If I can tell her topics that she cannot show me, she will listen to that. Has your wife spoken to you about this case or this defendant? I guess a few months ago. Okay, what was the conversation? Oh my God, P. Diddy, these terrible parties, he's in trouble, did he do it? He did it. Did he do it?
No freaking.
Yeah. And he was pretty, okay, so a lot of the jurors, you can tell they're very soft-spoken into the mic.
Yeah.
He's like, OMG.
How far are they from Diddy, like in terms of distance?
2 rows of desks, 3 rows of desks. It's 2 rows of
Oh.
desks. Yeah, like 3 rows of desks and then Diddy.
So like super close.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have to walk. So there's 2 doors. One Diddy comes out of, the other one the jurors come out of. And he has to walk. They have to walk by Diddy to sit next to the judge, and then walk out.
That's
Right and
intimidating.
left. Did your wife express a view, her own opinion about this case? No. And did you express an opinion about this case?
Those jurors are funny.
Oh my God, that's a pretty big accusation. He was excused from the case. The next juror walks up to the stand. He reminds me, and this is personal, but he gives me bowling dad vibes. Like, this man in my alternate universe in my head, I feel like he owns a collection of bowling balls and he bowls on the weekends.
Is there anyone who doesn't know Diddy from?
Well,
this-
probably
all
not.
these people, or
It doesn't appear that
so
way.
most of them, they all know what's going
Like,
on.
everybody probably know
Yeah,
him.
and so he says he's unsure if he can be fair and impartial because the lifestyle bias, And when he's asked to elaborate further, he says, just the reputation that might be someone in that field. What do you mean by that? What field are you referring to?
Hollywood?
The music LA lifestyle, it's very much different than the way I was brought up. What's your perception of how it was different? Fast and loose. He also says that he saw the video of Diddy and Cassie in the hotel. However, even though he saw it, he can be unbiased. He describes it as, you can't unring a bell. What does that mean, you can't unring the bell? I can't unhear something that I've heard, but I can separate that from what's presented here. He does appear to be pretty honest in his answers.
Yeah.
It seems like he's very genuine. Like, he's not trying to be like, yeah, no, I'm unbiased. It seems like he's being very thoughtful.
I mean, he has
If
to.
I'm not mistaken, the defense did not want him on the jury. So after they leave, after every juror leaves in the individual questioning, the defense and the prosecutors have a moment to bring up an application for striking that jury. And then the judge will either strike them or hold off or bring them back in for further questioning, or they'll be like, as of right now, no. The defense did try to strike him. They really did not like the can't unring the bell comment.
And was he excused?
He was not.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Because I think he was being honest. I mean, there's no one that hasn't seen something about Diddy.
Yeah.
A lot of jurors were excused for either lack of English comprehension or just financial hardship due to the schedule. It's 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks. You have to take off work. If you work by commission, if you have your own business, I mean, that's going to run you into bankruptcy. So a lot of them were excused for that. Now, this judge is asking a female juror about her ability to take off work. He asks, and where do you work? HBO. HBO. And what do you do for HBO? I'm a photo producer. Which, side note, photo producer means she helps with hiring, securing the location, getting the actors to there, getting the right attire, costumes, getting catering, hiring the photographer. And then
Yep.
they take the pictures for the advertisements that we see on the billboards. She later states that she recently worked with The Last of Us, White Lotus, Thailand, the one Lisa is on, and the judge asks her, okay, and in the course of working for HBO, have you done any work or have there been projects related to any allegations in this case? No. Later, the judge asks her, okay, now what have you heard or read about this case prior to today? Just because I work in entertainment, I'm somewhat familiar. I've seen the video, I've read a few headlines and articles, but I haven't done like a deep dive into it. Has anything been discussed in your presence at HBO concerning Mr. Combs? Not officially, but I would say yes, in hallway water cooler talk. What was the water cooler talk? Just that there's a case and he was arrested and he's in jail. Later, when the juror leaves
there
the
more than that?
courtroom, I mean, Mark is on this. Okay, the defense they don't want her on the jury.
Really?
He says there are 2 areas of concern. HBO has a documentary, a very negative documentary about Mr. Combs in the context of this case. Now, she didn't say she knew anything about it, you know, and we have to accept her answers, I suppose. And so that just gives us great concern. I mean, she works for a company that actually put out a documentary that, you know, I think objectively speaking is a very negative documentary. The judge asks the defense, what is the documentary? Mark looks over at Tenny. She looks at him. Diddy leans behind Tenny and gets Mark to lean down and whispers to him. And Mark stands up straight again. It's called The Fall of Diddy.
Are you
So-
saying Diddy told them the name?
Yeah.
So, okay, so they know the documentary. They don't know the name. Diddy lean in and say,
The Fall of Diddy.
The Fall of Diddy.
Yeah. She was not excused that day. She was excused the next day.
Hi, Rodrigo. I'm here. I mean, I wouldn't want to be juror against some pedo who was involved with a lot of murder. Understandable. The defense just needs to accept there will be slight bias. I mean, they know that. I think they're trying to get rid of like the biggest bias, but they 100% know. Like he has what 10 fucking lawyer that he probably pays minimum 500K to 2 million each for this. These motherfuckers better they know that they got. But I think they really are trying to get rid of as much biases as they can, which is like, good luck with that. Intimately aware of his own cancellation. I mean, duh. I mean, yeah, 500K is a lot of money, but that's his bed, and he now has to lay in it. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna fucking feel sorry for the motherfucker.
Now, there are lots of overlap in this case. It's not even just overlap of everyone has seen some news or some articles, some headlines, but there's a lot of personal overlaps as well. One juror walks in and they are enrolled at City College, which if we're trying to make everything a connection, I guess that would be a connection to the City College crowd crush.
Oh, shit.
One juror walks into the courtroom. He tells the judge, I gotta change one of my answers to the questions. He says, my wife, turns out probably about 30 years ago, served as a lawyer in a case, I don't even remember, I think she was involved in taking depositions, and it was a case that involved Mr. Combs.
Oh,
so
shit.
she was a lawyer for someone involved in the City College crowd crush incident. It was a case involving, do you know how or what the judge is asking the juror? My understanding is that Mr. Combs was a promoter of a concert and something went wrong. There was a riot or, a stampede at the door, and some people lost their lives, and there was, discussion
What, 11
about,
people died, I think?
his liability, I believe. The judge later asks, all right, and has she ever expressed to you any negative opinions about Mr. Combs that you can remember at this point, 30 years later? In taking the depositions and just research, she, did not have a positive opinion of him.
I mean, obviously.
And what's crazier is he didn't even tell his wife that he was serving on the jury for Diddy's case. He says he went home and his wife was like, hey, what case are you doing jury duty for? And I didn't tell her. But he says, this case was all over the news though, and it's a big case. The day after that, he's like, my wife came back and her colleague, the wife of this colleague, is also in the jury pool. I was like, hey, I saw the person you work with. She comes home to her husband and is like, hey,
oh my gosh.
I saw
So wife's
person.
colleague's partner
Yes.
is also in the jury, and they
Yes.
just told, that is crazy.
So then the
Damn.
judge is like, okay, got it. So then your wife came to you and said, I was in this case a long time ago. And then he's like, yeah, when I filled out the questionnaire, I have no recollection of it. I would not want her participation to come out at some point in the future and me not have revealed it. No, you did absolutely the right thing. So he's saying, that was 30 years ago? I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And then
Fair
my
enough.
wife was like, hey, my colleague's wife saw you at jury duty for the Diddy case.
What?
Yeah, he was excused. Yeah.
It was
And there's
excused.
just a lot of other random, slightly awkward, interesting moments. Another overlap. When one juror walks in, he instantly is like, they're giggling. The judge and the juror are giggling. They used to work together in
Oh.
a massive law firm. So he was excused. And another juror, there's a very awkward moment where he goes up and he is questioned, and he states that his occupation is working at MDC Brooklyn, the very jail that Diddy is being held at.
Well,
So any of these personal connections between anybody is a reason for them to be excused.
Typically, but it really depends on how strong the connection I did notice something, and I don't know if it's a coincidence. It could be a coincidence, but a lot of the jurors came up onto the stand, and one of the pieces of media that they say they saw before being called to jury duty is the hotel footage of Diddy and Cassie. And sometimes they will describe it, sometimes the judge will read out what they wrote about the hotel footage in their questionnaire. But if it's brought up with a little more description, Diddy appears to me to be shaking his head no slightly. It happened multiple times, and every time the hotel footage came up, I would be locked in, I would be staring at Diddy, and often, again, he would just kind of shake his head no. So one juror is asked, do you remember what that still image was that you were referring to? So he just saw like a screenshot of it. It seemed to have been in a hotel hallway, and the still image was of a woman on the floor, and can I say Mr. Combs standing? Now, the judge points out in the questionnaire, she wrote that it could be damning evidence. And she said, I guess I don't know how else to say it. It didn't seem to be what a person would want to be experiencing. I don't know how else to phrase it. Another juror describes the hotel footage, and this is when they're questioned. A video in the hallway that was dragging a person over the hallway. And Diddy would kind of shake his head no. Later, the same juror states they saw, quote, parties, and there were like headlines in the news, parties, and there were different situations with people who were very uncomfortable after certain periods of time, and they feel like they were drugged, put something in their drinks, and then they remember, and then there were situations that people were abused, that they were taken advantage of. One juror describes the hotel video as, I saw the video of Mr. Combs and this person. I seen a video of Mr. Combs, and it seems like this person was in the video and harm was being done to her in the video. Another says, the defendant was shown, I don't know how to describe, I think he was outside an elevator in a common hallway of a hotel. I think he just had on a towel or bathrobe on. And there was a woman, he went to get her, she ended up on the ground.
Wow.
Another juror described seeing the hotel footage as, quote, pretty much in my opinion, mostly everybody saw the video of the defendant, and I believe it was his ex-girlfriend in the hallway of the hotel. Another juror responds about what they saw prior to this, again, the hotel footage. Yeah, it's what I remember from the news. And seeing those reports, did that lead you to form an opinion as to Mr. Combs' guilt or innocence? No, it didn't lead me to form an opinion. I was basically just watching it and was taken aback or shocked. And why were you taken aback? Because it was just seeing it was a tad disturbing. I didn't have all the facts, I don't know. The scene itself was unfortunate, that's what I meant. Other notably awkward moments, which again, this might just be my perception of things. The judge because the judge has to verify. It's not like the judge is doing this intentionally. He's doing everything to the letter of the law. He's reading out some of the jurors' responses to the questionnaires. It feels like when you talk bad about someone and then it gets repeated in front of them. The judge is reading, you said that P. Diddy has a lot of money to use at his discretion, possibly buy his way out of jail. What did you mean by that?
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain that. On the same note, another instance, the judge reads out another part of the questionnaire of another juror and reads out, the repeating playing of the hotel video of incidents above and media gives the appearance of an angry, hostile person who is entitled.
So the judge is reading these out
Bro.
loud
And it's just like, can you clarify?
in front of
Yes.
Diddy, and do you feel like they're
I feel like, okay, so I was trying to watch both. Diddy's actually more deadpan during these moments. It's usually the hotel footage that seems to get a little head shake no.
it gets something out of him?
Yeah, otherwise people are
I mean,
like, "Yeah, I
everybody
the headlines, I
saw
this."
him
My
beat
wife
up
was
on
like, Did he do
Cassie.
it? Did he not? OMG. Not much. It's kind of just deadpan. But I will say the jurors look slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, speaking with another juror, the judge reads, just to remind you, the question about have you read, seen, or heard anything about this case? And the last sentence here is, well, I'll just read the entire answer. You said, I know through the media that Sean Combs is accused of illegal activities related to human trafficking and extortion. I understand that a producer of his alleges that Mr. Combs may have forced him into sexual relations that were non-consensual, and that Mr. Combs was also accused of engaging in sex with underage participants against their will. Where did you get that information? With this one, Diddy, I perceived a little head shake no.
Well, duh.
I do think that it's been a very depressing week. I know a lot of news headlines were pointing it out, but the amount of women and even men that were on the stand for further questioning. Now, because Diddy is accused of SA crimes, they have to ask, like, have you been essayed? Because it could form a bias that they need to at least know about. It doesn't automatically disqualify someone, but it's just something that they need to know.
Oh boy, bring back the Me
The
Too
amount of
movement.
people that have been essayed in their lifetime, it just is like one after another.
Bro.
After another. One older juror states, the situation was a dentist that my parents had gone to and they didn't pay them. And they ended up sending me there and I ended up working for them for that. This is a very blurry authority versus a person who's not paying for their dental bill. I developed confusion about obligations, about authority, which, I went to a lot of, I guess you could call it therapy about it to become more alert and more aware of boundaries around these types of situations. She was molested by the dentist. This happened in the 70s. Another juror reports that they were essayed by family members when they were like 8 years old. Another was essayed during college by a neighbor. Another, their daughter was essayed. Another was, there was attempted essay by a random person on the street.
Jesus Christ.
And the most depressing part of it is not even just the sheer amount of people that have those traumatic life experiences, is the fact that a lot of them do report that they didn't go to the police about it. I mean, they don't go further into it, but you can imagine it's
well, we know why they don't go to the
what are
police.
gonna do? That's the
Exactly.
feeling. One Marine vet, he came out, he looked like a sports dad. So I was trying to understand the vibe, such a weird word, of each juror as they came out for individual questioning. He looked like a sports dad. He looked kind of buff. He's a Marine veteran. His wife was also in the Marines. And he tells the judge, my wife was a uniformed victim advocate in the Marine Corps in South Carolina. She's in the Marine Corps. We both were. And he admits, yes, potentially, I would be biased in this towards an alleged victim. And the judge excuses him for cause, thanks him for his service, and thanks him for being there. But it was a very interesting moment of having a very buff, statured guy walk up there, a Marine vet, and in front of Diddy say, yeah, I'm going to be biased towards the victim. There were a lot of people who have had experiences with DV. One juror states that their sister was a victim of DV. Another had friends that were ultimately deceased from DV. It's just like back to back to back. Another juror, she seemed, at least in my opinion, traumatized by even having to answer the jury duty questionnaire. She was asked why she wrote no on the questionnaire about seeing Diddy on TV, and then later took it back and said, I actually did see him. And she said, because I'd been through all those things before, so I didn't want to talk about it. You said that you had been through those things. What do you mean? What I mean is I've been traumatized. It was in a war. It was a lot of things. She was older. It was lots of things. We went through this when I was there. She was excused. So a lot of the testimonies were just, not testimonies, but questionings were incredibly raw and difficult to get through. There were a lot of medical concerns, a lot of people that were very sick. One woman, she has ocular migraine, so she needs to take breaks, put her hands above her eyes and rest for her vision to come back. Another juror has 7 stents in their heart and has to take medications that would make it nearly impossible for them to come here and serve on the jury every day. And I think the very jolting part about watching and listening to the jury selection questions is I feel like we meet a lot of people in our daily lives, but to have everyone's life encapsulated in a 10-minute, like they go through their most traumatic moments, they explain their job, their occupation, they talk about other random facts like my cousin is a law enforcement officer. I have a degree in psychology. So it feels like you get a very deep snapshot, not just of like the pretty resume, but like all of the aspects of what makes someone who they are in 10 minutes. And it also is just so depressing after depressing after depressing. And I think that's why this next incident became, I guess, a more funny moment in court. Although I don't think it's funny. I think just everything is so depressing. A slightly older woman walks into the courtroom, a juror, and at least from my impression, from the other side of the courtroom, she appears very timid in her body language.
Like how old is she?
50, 60.
Okay.
She sits down next to the judge. She's one of the dozens of jurors that's going to be questioned. The judge says, in question 9B, the question was, would you be able to listen to and discuss matters of a sexual nature with fellow jurors? And your answer to that was no. And you gave a reason for it. And is it okay if I ask you about that while you're sitting here? Sure. Her voice is like, sure, like kind of shaky. What was the reason for your no answer? I'm a very... Shakes again. It sounds like her voice is breaking. I'm a very sensitive person, and I could faint or black out. When I was in junior high school, during the health education class, the teacher brought up, well, it shouldn't have been, but they brought up blowjobs, and I actually fainted. And the teacher and everybody surrounded me and said, what's going on here? And I was so embarrassed, I said I fell asleep when I didn't. And so I feel that if I were to come into mental contact with something similar, I wouldn't be able to speak coherently, and I wouldn't be a good juror. She is excused. I think that was a very notable moment in the courtroom. An older woman was asked about how she responded to a question if she could be fair and impartial. And she says that she does have a level of anxiety about the idea of being on the jury. She says, it's very unfamiliar situation, I guess. It's not very familiar. It's unfamiliar. It's an unfamiliar environment, and I'm not used to being listened to intently and to having my answers matter very much.
Wow.
In
Damn.
question 9, you were asked if there's anything in the nature of evidence or graphic videos and photographs, including videos of physical violence, that would make it difficult for you to be fair and impartial. You said no, but you answered, I cannot predict my response and what the images will be. What did you mean by that? I've seen people die in front of me, like I watched somebody get run over by a train. There have been a few other situations in my life I've seen horrible things actually happen, and I was okay with it. Not okay with it, but it didn't become a second problem. When something utterly horrible happens in front of me, I tend to shut down or just kind of call 911 or anything like that. But I guess in a video, it's detached. So she's saying, like, she's not 100% confident, but she assumes she'd be fine. Another juror raises concerns. You know, the only thing that I was and put in the prior question is that, to me, you have the life of somebody on your hands. So to me, that's a very difficult part. I don't know. I think I can do it, but it's something that I have to be very sure that that person, you know.
Yeah.
I will say that the media is reporting a lot of jurors just didn't want to be there and didn't want to serve. I actually didn't necessarily get that being in the courtroom. I think the transcripts do kind of read that way. I'm sure a lot of them just looked annoyed to be in jury duty, but it wasn't like they were coming up with a million excuses to try and leave. They just seemed kind of like, I don't know if I can do 8 weeks because I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to have financial hardship. Like, I can't. A lot of people seemed relatively neutral, if not like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess jury duty, right? But there was one juror where I don't think this woman wants to be here at all. She walks in and she tells the judge she has a new scheduling conflict. Her son is graduating high school and she wants to be there. It's the second week of June. Trial is supposed to go into July. The judge starts asking her, what day? I don't recall. On a Friday? I don't remember. Okay, what time of day is it? It starts, I think, around 10 or 12. And you don't know the day, like it's a Wednesday, Thursday. I don't recall. Which week is it? I can't say. I don't remember. Okay, well, you clearly thought about this after you did your questionnaire, but you didn't go look to see what the date was or what the time was or any of the details of the event? Well, I rely on my son to tell me these things, and he didn't yet. He says he didn't know it himself yet. But I remember when my first one was graduating, it was around this time. All right, where does your son go to school? Like, where is it? In the city? It's in Westchester. They move on, and the judge asks her if there's anything else she needs to change from her questionnaire. She says, I think there was. I don't know. So there were questions about violence and graphic. Yes. Images and stuff like that, so I don't think I can do that. Why? I'm battling depression right now, and I don't think that's going to help in my recovery. Which, side note, this is not me insinuating. Like, I think that's a very real thing. But then the next part, the judge says, all right, so in your questionnaire, why did you say that you did not have a problem looking at that type of material? I don't know, I was overwhelmed. I didn't realize. I didn't know about the case at all. All right, anything further that you wanted to change in your questionnaire? I didn't know about the case then. Now I do. What did you see? It was music. It was a song that I heard about the case. How did you come upon hearing this song? It was on like a Russian comedy channel. She does get excused for cause. I did find the Russian comedy channel.
Wait, what?
It's just like a SNL skit vibe of P. Diddy.
Oh.
So she's like, yeah, I saw that now.
Oh.
It did seem like she wanted to get out of it. Maybe she wanted to get out, at least to me. Maybe she wanted to get out of it because it's too much, too intense mentally, and she was just looking for any reason. I think that could be the case.
Okay.
One thing that I do think is very interesting, and I don't even think there's any sort of measure that we'll have at the end of the trial for this. There were moments, and I was talking to my researchers, so it's not just me, there were moments where it's like in the back of your mind, right? I felt like I made eye contact with Diddy. And of course, like, there's other things I'm thinking about. I'm taking my notes. But then in the back of my mind, like, once or twice, it's like, oh yeah, this guy is famous. Like, it's just like a thing. Like, because you see him on TV, you see him on screens, you hear people talk about him, and then it's a reminder of like, oh, whoa, this is the same person in the courtroom. These are the same people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I think it would be interesting to psychologically study the jurors for that. I don't think they can, but you get what I'm saying. Of during individual questioning of the jurors, there are so many times where it looks like Diddy is trying so hard to connect with them. Maybe he just likes to connect with people. Maybe it's for his case. He would seemingly sympathetically nod his head as jurors talk about hardships that they go through, or if a juror has an awkwardly cute or funny moment, he would sometimes smile. I mean, it's not like a big toothy grin, but he's smiling. So for example, one juror is asked if she knows any people on the peoples and places list, and she says, I don't, but I wish I did. And he's smiling at her.
Can you explain the people and places list?
Okay, so there are a list of like over 100 people and places that the jurors, this is not public information, everyone on that list, the jurors have to go through, and they have to tell the judge if they personally know any people or places on these lists. I'm going to go into who they are. When the group questioning takes place, at least on the second day of jury selection, Diddy pivots his chair. So the jurors come and they all sit down in the front of the courtroom on the right side. So now they're like directly in front of us because we're on the right side. And they're facing left. So we see their side profiles. Diddy sees, like, if he twists, he'll see all of their faces. And it's tiered, you know, so it's rows. And he's just giving them undivided attention. So they have a mic and they go one by one and they rapid fire. Like, I'm 34, this is where I work. They have to answer a list of questions that they're given. And then they pass the mic, and the next person, and the next person. At points, he's craning his neck to get a better look at the jurors while they're speaking. When someone makes a joke, he genuinely giggles like they're at a dinner party. And I'm like, I was just thinking in that moment, and I think this is unrelated, but how does that affect jurors? Because at the end of the day, I think psychologically humans are somewhat drawn to people that are perhaps famous.
Yeah, in a way, he's giving them this attention, right? Does that like psychologically
Play
influence?
anything? Yes, because...
And then I guess also like the whole thing is they're supposed to be non-biased.
Yes.
They're trying to not to judge him innocent
Yes.
until proven guilty. And then he's here being a really good sport, charming, who's laughing at their jokes, devoting his attention to them. Does that change their
Yes.
view of Diddy?
And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, if I was on that jury, it would not change my view, right? But you
No,
wouldn't
no.
get to that point
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
would have been weeded out if you're biased against Diddy to that level. So coming from like if they're a neutral, unbiased stance, does that even play a role? I don't know.
Okay, wait a minute. I was not reading chat. I was kind of locked in. Woo! Hey, you guys were chatting. What does RICO mean? Oh, racketeering. Yeah, racketeering. So, okay, she explained it to you. That's good. Yeah, you should read. Listen, not when I'm doing my lashes. First, I have to redo one of them. And the other thing is, the video is almost done, and everything that she's talking about is so compelling and so fascinating and interesting. Like all those the way they select the jury, who is in Diddy's legal team, how she felt like the jury were responding to the questioning and everything. Like, I was locked in. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll be like her in the moment, but I would take a minute after court to get together my thought, bro. I mean, she has like a team with her. She's not alone, but the thing is, like taking all of these notes, bro. I don't know how she does because that's a lot of shit. But she did spend 8 hours in there, but still, like, that's the level of notes that they were able to take in, and like her impression. She's an amazing storyteller. The way she talks about stuff is so good. Like, that's why I enjoy watching her podcast. She has a way to just tell stories that is just like you're locked in, you know. She's really, really, really good at that. So, which is why she's one of my favorite, if not my favorite podcast. setting someone's fate is too much, but for the case, I'd be like under the jail. Yeah, I mean, bro. I am curious though to see how they're going to defend him. Like, I'm extremely curious to see how, because we're not gonna be in there. She's gonna be there, so I'm gonna rely on her to know like what kind of defense are they gonna say for him, because everybody's biased. Like, from all the things that came out about him, everybody's biased. So I'm very curious to see how these $1 million freaking lawyer are gonna defend this man. Whew. Alright. And always a whole work shift. I like to this episode. Yo, I know. You know. It's
Yeah, no,
she's
that's valid. That's a
committed.
good
I
point.
respect her for
There is
that.
another moment during group questioning where, so they all have to answer if they have adult children where their adult children work, so there's no, I guess, conflict of interest or any bias. One of the jurors states that her daughter retired as an executive from United Healthcare, and my eyes went straight to Mark, and because he and his wife are representing Luigi Mangione. At least
Retired.
from my perspective, it did seem like Kenny and Mark Agnifilo shared a look. It looked like a mental note look. It didn't look panicked. It didn't look crazy. It just was like, oh, but it was interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the people and places list. It's just a lengthy list. So far from all of every juror that was, the first day, they didn't ask personally. So every juror that came in was like, yeah, Kanye. And everyone's like, how does everybody know Kanye personally? And then once they're verifying, do you know them personally or you just recognize their name as a celebrity? They're like, okay, yes, I recognize their name as a celebrity. So far, here's the list of people. Number 38 is Chance Combs, which is Diddy's daughter. Christian Combs, Diddy's son. Lorianne Gibson, a choreographer. Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, which one of the jurors does mistake him for the basketball player. Lauren London, an actress who dated Nipsey Hussle before his passing. Kid Cudi, Mike Myers, the actor and comedian. Aubrey O'Day, Harvey Pierre, that's the producer. These are people that are like directly related to Diddy, and there's allegations or there's situations. Dawn Richards, Cassie Ventura, Michelle Williams, the singer from Destiny's Child, Dallas Austin, Young
Oh,
Miami.
what is
It's
happening?
been reported. So the main connection that people are focusing on is Mike Myers, because no one really knows like why. We don't know if the connection is deeper. It doesn't seem like there's a deep connection. And then it's reported that Michael B. Jordan went on a date with Cassie, which Diddy was reportedly upset by, allegedly. And then obviously Kid Cudi, his car was blown up allegedly. Diddy blew up his car. And the rest, I
We all
imagine
know
a
he
lot
did
of
it.
them don't have sinister connections, as some people are making it appear. Like, I don't think this is the Diddy's list that,
Yeah.
but I guess we'll find out. So a lot of people are now guessing what's next because opening statements are coming Monday. Some people are commenting, I'm guessing Mark and Tenny are going to focus on the sex trafficking. And then Emily is going to be on drugs and drug use. Brian Steele, the RICO racketeering focus. Nicole Westmoreland will probably concentrate on cross-examining female witnesses. Alexandra Shapiro is this netizen's favorite. She seems to be the expert, but I'm not sure what she and Xavier Donaldson will focus on. That's the netizen comment. And so with that, we just have to wait for Monday for opening statements to start.
So they haven't narrowed down to the 12.
No, and the
Okay.
6 alternates, not yet. So they're going to do that on Monday, and then opening statements will start right after. So right now there's 45. And at this point, up until this point, every time the defense doesn't want someone on the jury or the prosecutors don't want someone on the jury, they have to tell the judge, I don't want them for this reason.
Yeah.
The judge can disagree. The judge can be like, yeah, your reason is dumb, or no, that doesn't apply. But so they fight it out. Or maybe sometimes they both agree, which in that case, the judge will strike that juror. But now each of them have 6 strikes. They can take out 6 jurors without explanation, without reason.
So 45 minus 6 and 6, that's 12. So 45 minus 12 will be 33 people left
Yes,
after they just knock out 12.
But I
Okay.
do think that there's more questionings too for any potential strikes as well. They just have to narrow down to 12 and then 6 alternates. But I think it'd be interesting to see who they strike out, just because they're like, I don't want to give a reason. It's interesting. So a lot of decisions will be made on Monday, and I will be in the courthouse, and I will be right here right after, and I will see you then.
I cannot wait to see more of this madness. I wonder if we're gonna get more regular Rotten Mango episode, or she's only gonna like talk about Diddy. I feel like since she's there, she must be like, she must be, I don't know, like I don't think she's gonna talk about anything other than that. Like this one is came out 3 days ago. I don't know. I feel like she's probably only gonna talk about that for a little while. But I could be wrong. Maybe she pre recorded some other episode that are gonna come out. That wouldn't surprise me. Oh my god, me too. Like I'm so honestly I'm so happy that someone like her is there. And the fact that she was allowed in as a part of the freaking media is so crazy to me, but at the same time, I'm not that surprised because she did that whole series 6 months ago on him, and like her video on Diddy all have like 5.7 mil, 3.6 mils, 5.2 mil, 5.3 mil views. Like I feel like because of who she is and the popularity of her true crime podcast, that's probably how she managed, because she's not like an official journalist. She's a true crime podcaster, and they invited her as part of the member of the freaking media. I find that so impressive. Yeah, I am quite excited. Well, I don't know about if I would say I'm excited, but I am looking forward. I'm looking forward for what's next. I mean, I don't even know what day we are today. What day are we? We're Tuesday. Okay, so next week, basically. Next week, I think she said something about like giving us daily update, which is like, oh my god, girl. I hope you're gonna have time to rest. Like, journalist Miss Girly Pop. I mean, I've been following her for so long, honestly. I've been following her since her very questionable time when she would do true crime story while eating mukbang, okay? Which at the time I didn't question too much, but in retrospect I fully understand why some people were not happy with that, and I'm so happy that she doesn't do that anymore. But that just says how long I've been following her. Like it's been a few years. So I like to see the evolution of her podcast and the fact that she's now literally being invited in court. Good for her. So yeah, good luck to her. And bro, I don't know. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by everything that she does. I'm just. I guess we'll see. I'm pretty much done with my makeup, but I'm also kind of not. But I also kind of am. But that video was 2 hours. I usually can do my makeup in 1 hour, but I was so locked in. Mukbang and crime, I get it, but I can see what I mean. So in my personal opinion, the mukbang thing, the reason why I was annoyed at it is because she would tell a story like, and so she was dismembered. This is so good. And then, and so like after he chopped her off, he said like it was really inappropriate when you think about it. It was really inappropriate. But personally, I hated the fact that she would interrupt herself to eat. I'm like, bitch, just tell the story. Eat first and then tell the story. I don't want to hear you munching on your fucking food while I'm trying to understand how she died or how he died or whatever. So that was definitely an era that I'm glad is gone. What do you mean I do the same thing? I don't do true crime. I barely eat in front of like I do eat when I react to stuff. That's true, but I don't like fucking pause whatever I'm doing just to I don't know, bro. I don't see how I do the same thing at all. Imagine being the family and seeing someone nibbling on some exactly. That's literally what people were saying at the time. Like, girl, 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 girl. I love you, but um, because like someone literally said the exact same thing that you said. They were like, if I am the family of someone who was brutally murdered, and I see some random chicks on the internet talking about how my uncle was brutally murdered while munching on some tasty In and Out food, I'm gonna crash out, and I can understand that because that, it doesn't feel really appropriate. It doesn't feel really sensitive, But she doesn't do that anymore, and I am so happy. I am so happy because it's way easier to listen to her now anyway. Like before it was a bit like it was just annoying every time she would pause, but now it's so much easier to listen to her in general. I eat in the mic. Okay, well, it is what it is. I don't really care. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna the separation platform is here. Yes, that's also the other thing. I like the fact that like her main channel, her personal channel, she only use it. She has this whole new series on her other channel. Well, not a series, but it's more like instead of mukbang, she talks about. Bro, honestly, I know nothing about China. Everything that I know about China, I feel like I've learned through Stephanie Sue because she talks about her husband is Chinese, and because of that, like her that side of the family is Chinese, and so she has like she has access to Chinese culture and Chinese like celebrity culture, and I just find that really interesting every time she bring what's happening on the Chinese side of the world and like their TV reality or celebrity drama and etc etc. Like I swear to God, if it wasn't for her, I would still be extremely, and I'm still extremely ignorant on China, but just I like hearing things that humanize Chinese people because we're so used to like Chinese bad, Chinese bad, Chinese bad, and so she's just coming in and just makes us laugh or with like some dumb shit that are happening in China, and it's like hell yeah. Then the Chinese people be the drama queen too. I'm here for it. I'm invested in some Chinese people whose name I cannot pronounce, but whose life seems to be really fascinating. Have you have you ever I usually like watch more like true crime on my stream because that's kind of like for some reason I'm a bit psycho, I guess. That's like something that I really enjoy watching. Sometimes I do play video games while listening to podcasts, not true crime podcasts. I have these like Warframe and Reddit streams sometimes where I just play Warframe and I react to like Smush read Reddit stories because I find like MIDSO stuff extremely fascinating and hilarious. Like, yeah, go strangers on the internet telling their very personal story to a bunch of strangers instead of going to therapy, which I can understand because therapy is expensive. But to my entertainment, hell yeah, tell us how you fucked up, you know? Like, tell us why you fucked up or why you were in the, like, or why you did the right thing or whatever. Like, I find that really, really, really funny to see. I just love these things. They're dumb. Yes, Smush. There you go. You are a person of culture. I love to. I can't watch them on stream because I dual stream on Twitch and YouTube, and so because of that, there's a lot of shit that like I get flagged on YouTube specifically for doing. Because if I was just like streaming on Twitch, I wouldn't have any issue like streaming myself reacting to Smush, but I can only kind of like listen to it, the audio version. I can like play the video at the same time because it's like, yeah, it's not allowed on YouTube. But I do love their episode. Stephanie used to, okay, Stephanie is the one who introduced me to MID asshole because she used to sometime very like she hasn't done that in ages. She used to have these like she would either had like her viewers send her personal story that she would read, like obviously they know that they were gonna be read in front of everybody, and she would also like just bro, she woo, I still remember some of the stories. They were crazy. Like, she would find the craziest stories on fucking MIT Asshole Reddit and tell us about it. Some of those stories are so disgusting. Oh my god. There's things that I know about strangers that are living in this world that I didn't want it to know. But because they were on Reddit, now I know and I'm disgusted and traumatized. But she will tell us about it. So I'm cursed with knowledge about things that I or nobody should know about people's personal lives. YouTube is strict, YouTube is extremely strict. Yeah. Confession from viewer are always wild. I wonder what people's stories from other countries are. Confession from viewer are wild, especially because when you have a platform as big as hers, like, she has a lot of viewers, and people kind of develop like what it's called. It's called interpersonal relationship or whatever. Anyway, like, people kind of tend to kind of see her as a friend or just as their personal comfort, and so sometimes I feel like people kind of get too close to someone that they don't personally know, but it would lead to some very interesting stories. But still, some of these stories were wild. Like, girl, I know that this is anonymous, but do you really want everybody to know that? That's crazy. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Parasocial, yes, thank you. Parasocial relationship with, like, people on the internet. And I get it. I mean, shit. I'm sure I have a little bit of parasocial relationship bias subconsciously with Stephanie Sue, like, I probably do because I really like her, but still, I don't know. I don't know. I would like, though. I would so much like to be able to do that one day, man. Can you imagine just having people send you random shit and reading it live and reacting to it? That just sounds so crazy. Like, what could go wrong? Some of these stories, like I said, are like so crazy. There's some stories that comes to mind that I don't even know if I can repeat. Like, I'm 100% sure that some of these videos were heavily restricted because of their subject, because you would really find the craziest internet lore or stories, and I'm like, holy moly. Someone, either these people are like writers and they are testing their material online, or it actually happened and now I'm traumatized. You can call her out if she's doing questionable stuff. I mean, of course. I think there's only one video of hers that I heavily disagreed with her overall sentiment on it, and I was not the only one. So I was happy about that. Like, I don't remember. It was a video about, like, some, I don't remember who it was about. I think it's some Asian guy. So that's really, really broad. Some Asian dude who had a very messy divorce, and she's usually very much like more like of a girls, but for this case specifically, she was not a girls, and everybody was calling her out in the comments like, girl, what are you doing? He may have been shady towards his wife, so why do you act like he's the victim in this situation? So that's like the only time that I was disagreeing with her on something. The writer and AI stories on Reddit make my skin itch. I mean, honestly, if let's say you're a writer and you write a story that isn't true, but you make it so good and compelling that I don't care, you are an amazing writer and you should be published. Like, yeah, because I remember one stories that ultimately the ending of the stories and the comments under the story kind of like pissed me off a little bit, because I was like, even if it's not real, suspension of disbelief, just ride with the vibe. Like, the story was kind of good up until the end. The end was a little bit Could have been better, but yeah. I liked like really long stories or stories with crazy updates because yeah, I think because I hate when I listen to a podcast who talks about all these Reddit stories and the story is short and there's no updates because it came out yesterday. I hate that. I'm like, nah, I need an update. I want an update. What do you mean this is where the story ends? Like, where's the rest? I need more. I have so many questions. Oh, I mean, people are always split, but the family stories I'm always like, I hate how like some people's family are just absolutely terrible. Like, so yeah, I was bullied by my brother, but my family tell me that it's not the end of the world and that I'm the drama queen. Meanwhile, the brother was just like absolutely horrendous and stuff like that. That's just, I hate that. It's so sad. Best of Redditor updates, yo, or the funny one or the one that end up in Am I the Devil? Like the most oblivious people on the fucking planet. Like, Am I the Devil is where people are like, so anyway, my wife is like 8 months pregnant, and I ask her to like, you know, I don't know, get the produce from like the get the vegetable from the garden. Is it like a bad thing, or like she still has to cook for me every day? Am I like the bad guy? Like some dumbass shit that you're just like, what are you doing? Like, why is you here? There is no way that you actually thought that you were in the right here. Those are always crazy to me. Sibling bullying each other. I mean, I don't like. It depends what kind of bullying we're talking about. You know, like some bullying is literally just abuse. And if it's abuse, then no, it's not normal, and it should 100% be called out. Like, yeah, I have siblings. I know what it's like to have like brothers and sisters, but it still is not a reason to tolerate abuse. That I don't fuck with that. It builds character. Well, see, you don't give a fuck, and I don't give a fuck about your opinion on the matter. I don't think that abuse, regardless of the circumstances, is good. I personally don't think that abuse is a good way to build anybody's character. On the contrary, it's kind of shit that can literally give you trauma for the rest of your life, and then you have to deal with it in therapy if you can afford therapy. So that's not good at all. Like abuse should never be seen as a way to build anybody's character. What the fuck? He brought the cutting board and pen to the bed, saying, "Yes, that story. Oh my god, bro, that story. Oh my god, bro. My yeah, no, she wasn't pregnant. She was super fucking sick, and she was in bed. And he brought the cutting board to bed so she could still participate in making dinner. Crazy, absolutely, absolutely crazy. Dumb, dumb, dumb husband." You get me, sassy? You're always sassy, you little freaking twink. What more do you want from me? You're always sassy. Oh, Rodrigo is one of my mod. He's insufferable. But he's good people. You have a girlfriend now? Good for you. But having a girlfriend doesn't stop you from being a twink, though. I'm just saying. Twink people can have girlfriend too. You know? It's not mutually exclusive. So, I'm just saying. You can still be a twink and have girlfriend. Obviously, that's a lie, but if it helps you sleep at night, boo boo, you can keep telling that to yourself. When we both know that the way we met is we were playing on Phasmophobia. We ended up playing Phasmophobia together randomly, and you kept singing Glorilla, her new single at the time. And I found that funny, and that's how we linked up. So, don't think that I don't remember how we fucking met, because I do. And obviously, because I'm streaming, the receipts are probably somewhere on the internet. That's the other way around. You kept singing it, and I did the and we both laughed. And that was the beginning of our relationship. Glorilla brought us together because she released a banger. You put me in your New Year's letter, you so fit. You what? Your new what the fuck are you talking about? What New Year's letter? What are you on? Bro, where's my lipstick? Uh-huh. I had a New Year's letter. Oh yeah, I said thank you. Cause at the ultimately, even if you're annoying as fuck, you're still a good mod, and I'm grateful to have you as a moderator. But you can still be a good moderator and be a twink. Again, those two things are not mutually exclusive. Regardless, I am done with my makeup. I'm gonna change my wig. I'm gonna put my little what's it called? Thing out. Also, what time is it? I'm probably getting a little bit of a snack. Anyway, I'm gonna take a little break and I'm gonna come back to play Marvel Rival. So, you know the game that you are unable to leave the bronze category on? That game. As I climb my way back to hopefully GM1. Is being a twink a bad thing? No. Being a twink is not a bad thing. It's just a funny. I just think it's funny. Like, twink for me are like just skinny ass little dude who like who with like a specific kind of like aesthetic. I don't know. You know, I always have too many tabs open. That's like it's the ADHD in me. Those tabs look like my tab. I do have way too many tabs open all the time. As you can see, YouTube is like the main source, my main source of entertainment. I used to subscribe to a lot of people's Patreon because I enjoy their content enough to support them on Patreon so I can watch more of their content. So yeah. I thought the School Musical was gonna start playing. We're all in this together. Yeah, I don't know. I open a bunch of shit whenever I need to. Doesn't really matter. Everything that is open, I usually forget about it, and one day I just close the whole thing and start over with a bunch of new tabs. That's how I work. I like to keep myself busy because I have ADHD. I need to always have a source of distraction slash entertainment ready to go. Four tabs open is just. What are you doing with four tabs open? Are you even living if you have only four tabs open? I mean, it is unfortunately part of my my personal, my person. So anytime a YouTube video and then not watching, yo, Lavender, we speak the same language. We see like we speak this, and sometimes I have to go back and see like, oh yeah, I opened these because I want to eventually finish them, and then a month later I still haven't finished them, but they're still there open. Like, eventually I'm gonna finish this video that I started on YouTube when I feel like it. The amount of video that I click on to watch later is crazy. I do that a lot, and then crazy thing is I then forget that I put the videos in to watch later, and so when sometimes I'm like I don't know what to watch, I forget about that. So the I thought Lavender Corpse and Dove were the same person. No, they no. It's not I have to go. I'm enjoying talking to people. You know how rare it is that my chat is active, sir. Like, let me talk. Goddamn, it's not like I have anything to do. I'm fucking unemployed. So I'm not going, it's because I don't want to go, but I will go regardless because I do want to work on my freaking rank on Marvel Rival and then probably play a little bit of Warframe later. But I'm also just like wondering how hungry I am at the moment. Like, I don't know if I should like eat something now or later. Anyway, that's my internal debate with myself at the moment. With a wig like that, I would be unemployed. I would unemploy you too. Aww. You're still going after my wig because you're mad I don't want to wear the wig that you want me to wear because they're fucking ugly. You can buy me food if you want, but I'm never gonna wear one of your wig. Fucking ugly ass wigs that you get from like the dollar store. Snatching the wig? Nah, he could never. He wishes though. You should see the kind of wig that he wants me to wear. And then think that he actually has any taste in anything. He does not. He has a lot of imagination though. His ideas are definitely originals. I can give him that. I don't remember the wig he sent me. All I know, they were all clownish. And just not my style. And literally, like, I may buy cheap wigs, but at least, like, I can sort of wear them properly. The wigs you sent me are literally like some weird anime wigs. Like, who the fuck wants that on their head? What? You sent them again to me on Discord. Sir? Sir? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's why I can't take you seriously. Like, I'm not wearing that or that or that or that or that or that. I'm not. So oh shit. Oh, I forgot. I don't know why I can't, like, my computer doesn't show Discord. It's so, not my computer. Stream Element doesn't show Discord, and I don't know why. It is so weird. Like, I have to open it on my browser. I don't get it. But anyway, those are the wigs. Alibaba wigs is pretty much what is. I mean, it says Timu here. I bought some of my wigs on Timu. There's some Timu wigs are not bad, but those are just ugly. Like, I'm not wearing these shit. It's not happening. Like, I don't see why I should wear any of that. And it annoys him because he thinks that I would be an amazing idea. I just don't think it's part of my style. Yo, those blue ones are fire. Okay. I mean, it has some aura, but how am I supposed to see? Plus, I just know that this cut would not work on me. I just know. And like, those are the kind of wig that you can rock if you know how to cosplay. I don't cosplay. I can do my makeup. you know, but I don't cosplay. The fuck. Ugh, I have nothing against Pride, but the wig is fucking ugly. Drag Race reject. Ah, exactly. Clock it. Clock it. Drag Race reject indeed. I don't know if anybody on drag. I mean, maybe a freaking like seasoned drag queen would be able to make something out of these wigs because them bitches are super good when it comes to making costumes. But I am no drag queen and I'm not a cosplayer. So I look at this and I'm like, nope. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with that, and I don't care to find out. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna wear any of them. I told him though, if he wants to pay for it and send them to me, maybe one day I'll feel like I can. But until then, I'm good. That's these don't speak to me at all. You look like one. Look like what, bro? A drag queen? I mean, damn, thank you. Them bitches are fabulous. Looking like a drag queen is not an insult to me. I like to look like a queen. The way they do their makeup, amazing. So, I'm okay with that. Nicki Minaj wig is screaming at no. Plus, I'm sorry, Nicki Minaj doesn't buy her wig on Temu. Okay? Just so you know. She doesn't like if you have Nicki Minaj money to spend on a pink wig, but I can assure you that she doesn't buy it on Temu. So I don't know. I mean, Nicki Minaj can. She was the last time I saw her with a cool wig was in a collab with Coi Leray. She had a cool wig in her collab with Coi Leray. Like, yeah, like in that video, she had a cool wig. I like that wig. It was like it's a typical Nicki wig. But I don't know if she still wear like those super colorful. I mean, she probably does. Oh yeah, she was wearing it in that video. That's funny. She was wearing that wig in the video. It's not the exact same wig though. False advertising. Yo, listen, listen. No, li- Rodrigo. Um, you don't have to send me anything. I'm not interested, and I shall never be interested. Like, I need you to understand that. Yeah, I don't. You didn't send me anything more, so I don't know what you're talking about. How do you feel about this guy? What guy? Not yet. Hurry, bro. I don't know why I'm so hungry. I ate today. Did I? What did I eat? I'm still picking, sir. Doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm not interested in your wigs. I shall never buy any of the wigs that you want. And unless you want to spend hundreds of dollars, because that's what those wigs cost, most likely. The actual Nicki Minaj wigs. Unless you want to pay like hundreds of dollars on them fucking wigs, I am not interested. Thank you very much. Nah, I'm good. Oh, that was Blick Blick. Yeah. With Coi Leray. This time, won't you save me? I don't know from which song that is, Dove. All I know is I like her. The collab that she did with Coi Leray was. I like her verse. Hoes ain't missing with Barbie. Taze, no, 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 no. I don't remember everything that she said. Oh, all these P are stunned, but bitch, you're not Puerto Ricana. I don't know. I'm I'm not that big into Nicki. I know she's the queen of rap, but I hate her personality. Bro, can you imagine if that's a song? I know you're Puerto Rico, but you lost the meaning of that specific lyrics from her, which is fine. What is MCR? Either way, Nikki is famous for her wigs, and I know that she doesn't spend $10 on them, so I shall restrain myself from doing anything other than that. I mean, buying anything below that. I already have my Tim wigs, so I'm good. My Chemical Romance. Oh, My Chemical Romance! I remember them. I don't remember what they were singing, but I remember the band. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not. Nobody wants to spend $2 on a wig. I fully understand what you're saying. Oh my god. What the fuck is this thumbnail? Jesus. Anyway, I'm gonna put something more pleasant because holy shit. My YouTube is full of very interesting content, I guess. But yeah, if you ever feel like cleaning your eyes from true crime, you can just go there and watch more of her talking about stuff. It's way more interesting than talking about wigs that I'm never gonna buy. Right, Rodrigo? Just so you know. Just get off. I am getting off. I am because I need to eat. I will come back later. I don't know how long. Probably like 10 minutes or 30 minutes. I never know. And I'm gonna play some video games. I'm not gonna buy the wigs. Alright? Bye. See you later.